right. We're live, gentlemen. What's up?
Hey now.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bigger, Stronger, Faster was it was a documentary that I could not there was so many people that were talking about it. You couldn't avoid like having a conversation about it, especially like in the UFC, because so many fighters have been accused of taking performance-enhancing drugs, and there's so many conversations about that. So I always wanted to talk to you guys, and I watched it again. I watched like the first half of it when it first came out, and I watched it all again this morning to check it out.
Did it bore you the first time, or why didn't you watch it all the way through? What happened?
I don't remember. I think I was on a plane, and I think the plane probably landed, and I shut my laptop, and I never picked it up again. It was
Just
one of those
forgot about
things.
it.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
It's great. Great documentary. And interesting and honest. What was really hilarious is when you're going over the people that, like, what's the #1 reason to go to the hospital? And then they like
right.
aspirin, fucking vitamin C, and then below that was steroids. And then when
steroids was way down, I think.
the amount of deaths, it's like steroid deaths are like slightly above water, drinking water.
Yeah, there's no real proof to link anything scientifically. You know, you can have anecdotal evidence on a lot of things, but nothing scientifically links steroids to these deaths.
This is a real problem with some people. They don't want to hear that, and they don't want to hear it because they don't. There's a narrative that we're being taught in this country, or that we're being told to embrace. That narrative is steroids are for cheaters, and cheaters are losers, and losers aren't American. But as you highlighted in your movie, over and over and over again, all these examples of different athletes that were caught with performance-enhancing drugs. Whether it's the guy from the Tour de France, whether it was Carl Lewis. The Carl Lewis thing was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know, when Ben Johnson got tested positive for steroids, they stripped him of his medal. Carl Lewis tested positive for amphetamines.
Yeah, he wasn't even supposed to run. So
yeah,
that's, you know.
the whole thing is crazy. I mean, they're all doped up.
But like you said about the narrative that they want you to believe, the narrative doesn't come from health problems. The narrative comes from, you know, nobody's concerned about the health of the athlete. We say that, but nobody really is concerned about the health of the athlete. They're concerned about an unfair advantage.
Yeah, they're concerned about someone being able to do what we suspected the Russians were doing back in the 50s. And that was really enlightening, too, when you were talking to that guy that was saying that they had found out about it from the Russians doing it in the 1950s. And from then on, they were doping.
Yeah, over shots of vodka. They were actually hanging out with the Russian strength coach, and he was, you know, a little loosey-goosey. And he sort of slipped up and was like, yeah, we're giving our guys testosterone. So as soon as that got out of the bag, Dr. Ziegler raced home and he created Dianabol, which was even a stronger steroid than was currently available on the market. And they started testing guys with like 5 milligrams of Dianabol. And of course, they found other ways to get it through the testing facility, or however they were getting their hands on it once it was manufactured. And that's when it became, you know, the Wild West. Basically, it was like people started taking 20 milligrams and getting way stronger. And
it's kind of crazy because if you want to get better at something, people don't have a problem with people using certain means, or people don't have a problem with someone to go into a supplement store and purchasing something that doesn't work. But as soon as you take something that's powerful, people are like, well, wait a second, we don't want you doing that good.
I was always telling people that the strongest shit I ever took, they made illegal, but you used to be able to buy it at GNC. It was called Mag 10. Do you remember that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Oh, my God. That stuff, I took that shit for like whatever it was, like 6 weeks. I gained like 10 pounds. I was jacked up all the time. It was like a bunch of pills. You had to take like 10 pills. And after it was over, my dick died like it got hit with a meteor. My dick was useless.
Yeah.
It was useless for like weeks. It took me for my testosterone to come back. I was like, oh, this is steroids, like real steroids you could buy at GNC until they made it illegal.
Those drugs are more dangerous than the actual real testosterone.
They'll bloat you and all kinds of stuff too. Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck was in it either. I just bought it because it was legal.
Yeah, probably a lot of salt.
Yeah, a lot of
sodium.
A lot of those pills, what they do is they'll give you a huge surge of estrogen as well.
Yeah, bad for the tits.
Did your tits grow too?
No, they didn't. I got lucky. But, you know, that's what one of the guys was on the U.S. powerlifting team with Bruce Jenner thinks happened to Jenner. He believes that, well, first of all, he said he knows that they had Jenner pumped full of steroids.
Sure.
He said we were all on steroids. He goes, Jenner was absolutely pumped full of steroids. And he said that is what started his like transition to want to be.
Is this where I'm heading?
Well, maybe if you drop off a little bit. Just stay on, dude. Relax.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting, but Mark and I had this talk the other day, and I think that this whole like gender issue and transgender and all these different things, like I don't know how much that's linked to testosterone levels or not. Like I don't know if there's that many definitive studies on like whether your testosterone, like if you have a high estrogen level.
Yeah, just because someone's gay doesn't mean they don't have testosterone levels.
Yeah, there's
high.
a lot of people that are gay that have very high testosterone levels.
And a lot of people can kick ass too. They're
gay, but those are gay. They're not. They don't identify as female. There is a difference.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I don't know how that actually correlates. I haven't read the studies on that stuff, but
I think it's probably as difficult for us to understand as to understand what it's like to be a woman. It's like you don't get it. You don't. You get it. Like they probably don't get what it's like to not want to be a woman. Right. You know, you're like, I'm good. You're like, are you sure you don't want to be a woman? Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. You're like, well, for
actually,
me, it's everything. All right. Well, good luck.
In the powerlifting world, in the world of powerlifting, it's been sort of turned on its ear by a guy named Matt Kroc. Is that his name?
Yeah, Krokoletsky.
Mark's can tell you a little bit more about him, but
I've been friends with him for about a decade. I've known about his issue for about 6 or 7 years now, and he's actually going to be on my show coming up soon. But he's transgender, and he's it's ruined relationships for him many times over. He's got 3 kids. He's a good father. He's a good person. He's a good dude, or female.
He's a good woman now.
He's a good woman. But the issue is really interesting, and that's why I want to talk to him and try to help people just better understand it, because people get so mad. That's the thing that I don't get is I do understand voicing your opinion and saying, fuck, man, that's weird. Like, that makes sense to me. But people actually getting mad and having committing hate crimes and stuff, to me, is just disgusting. I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, it is disgusting, and I got to think that it comes from their family, from the way they're raised, that their parents are ignorant. It's the only thing that makes any sense.
Right.
I just think that we're moving past that. I think there's more awareness and more acceptance for those sort of issues that people have than ever before.
This country worries about some fucked up shit.
There's a lot worse things going on.
What about Cecil?
You're
on steroids. Who cares?
Every day
steroids.
every day another cop shooting somebody, and we're worried about that we concern ourselves so much more with the tabloid media than we do with what's really going on in this country.
Well, the cop shooting part, is a horrible thing, but cops on steroids is something that people don't talk about too much. It's kind of hilarious when you see cops busting people for steroids, because we all know, anybody who knows people that take steroids knows that cops are on steroids.
Absolutely.
A giant chunk of them. And
cops,
you talk to them.
Busted our brother with steroids.
And they're probably on it when they were busting him.
Well, no,
they took it. They confiscated it.
They confiscated it, and
then every cop in Poughkeepsie, where we're from, got huge. They took like 1,000 pills of Dianabol from him, and next thing you know, the cops are walking around all jacked.
All jacked. Well, I had talked to a guy who's a cop I used to work out with, and he had a rational explanation. He's like, look, man, he goes, it's fucking gross out there. He goes, it's dangerous as fuck, and you got to be on top of your game, and you want to have an edge. Right. Meanwhile, dude was 5'7", he weighed 250. I'm like, you got a couple of edges here. You got edges all over your body, dude. He's just so fucking jacked.
That's great.
How do you even move like that?
Not very well.
Yeah.
Well, all someone would have to do is get a hold of him and hang on. All you got to do with a guy like that is ride the bull.
Well, I think a lot of people,
seconds in him.
Look, if you taught those guys what you know in jiu-jitsu, they'd be much more effective than taking steroids, but that's probably the easier route, right?
That would help, but the reality is you're dealing with guns and knives and shit like that.
Yeah, so no matter how big you are, it doesn't even really matter, right?
No, well, you definitely should know how to defend yourself physically, 100%. Every cop should be a black belt in something. You should know what it's like to be in a wild melee with another person who's trying to kill you with their hands. But it's not going to protect you from guns and knives and all that gun defense stuff. Like, that's an art in and of itself. Like, there's some guys who are experts in taking guns away from people and shit, but good luck with all that.
What do you think the major difference is between, like, UFC and Pride? Like, Pride, I don't think they really had rules, right?
They definitely had rules, because they had no elbows, and that was a big issue.
I meant testing-wise.
Oh, testing-wise. Yeah, no, they didn't have rules at all. In fact, they specifically said on their contracts that there was no testing for steroids. Okay. Ensign Inoue, who's one of the fighters from Pride, great guy, fought in the UFC as well. He did this whole thing about it, where he came on the podcast and explained the verbatim contract. It said, we are not going to test you for steroids.
Yeah, meaning like, go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, well, they encouraged it. I had a buddy of mine he would fight in America at 170, and they wanted him to fight in Japan. He went over there and had some meetings like, you're 185. And he's like, but I don't weigh 185. I weigh 180 right now. And he's like, no, the steroids again with 185. Like, they were like really sold on him being 185. They wanted big Americans. They wanted everyone to look like Mark Kerr. You remember Mark Kerr?
He was amazing. Yeah,
The Smashing Machine.
That's Smashing Machine. As a documentary filmmaker, that was my favorite documentary. I think it still is.
It's amazing.
Probably ever.
It's an amazing documentary. And for folks who don't know what it's about Mark Kerr, who was at the time one of the most dangerous MMA fighters in the world. Like a guy who you would look at and you'd say, well, that is what an MMA fighter should look like.
Right.
260 pounds, fucking jacked to the tits, just giant and smashing people. But they caught him. There he is right there at his prime. What a fucking gorilla.
Oh, shit, man. Yeah, that's a good picture.
They caught him right when he slid. They literally caught him on top before he slipped and then went into this mad fucking painkiller slide.
Absolutely. It happens to everybody. I mean, that's what happened in the world of pro wrestling, which we're like really closely associated with. All these guys, you hear about the wrestlers dying and everything.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the steroids. It's a deadly cocktail that they're all doing,
It's steroids are a big part of it, but that's the steroids. It's tiny in comparison to the head injuries.
It is important
taken.
to point out that they're not safe. Like I think sometimes people that take them are like, "Fuck yeah, man, take steroids." They definitely have their drawbacks, and it's a drug, and it's an illegal drug. So
and
that always needs to be
pointed
pointed
upon
out.
dosage. Well,
right.
There's people that are going to take a little bit and be fine, or there's people that are going to go off the rails. And like there was a dude that we knew that was Vitor Belfort's trainer in the '90s, and he died real young. He died at like 32 or 33.
Yeah.
We used to call him garden hoses.
Yeah.
Because he would work out, he would be purple, and his fucking arms, his veins.
Curtis Leffler.
Oh,
yeah, Big Purple.
They
call him
Big Purple.
They called him Barney at the gym. They'd call him Barney because he was so purple.
He was on so much
nicest
shit.
guy,
the greatest guy,
really great guy, and Vitor at the time was jacked. He was training at Gold's Venice.
He almost got too jacked. Remember, he came in and smoked everybody, and then all of a sudden he got kind of too big.
He got too big. When he fought Randy, he was too big.
Yeah.
He was like 240 when he fought Randy, and he had no gas tank.
He was a specimen when he was younger, when he was 19.
Well, when he was 200 pounds, he was like the perfect size.
Yeah.
Because Vitor has like a size 8 foot. He's not a big guy. Like his hands are fairly small too, but he's just a spectacular athlete.
Yeah, it's amazing he's done it for so long. It's unbelievable.
I know it is, and he's an interesting point because Vitor for the last year and a half was on testosterone replacement, last like 2 years, and had the most spectacular results of his career. It was really crazy to see a guy who had been fighting since 1997 in the UFC, and he's knocking out Michael Bisping, he's knocking out Luke Rockhold, he's knocking out Dan Henderson, he's wheel kicking people in the head, and the way he was doing it was just fucking crazy to watch. He head kicked 3 of the best fighters in the world and did it with muscles growing out of his fucking teeth. I mean, just
was
jacked.
that legal in the UFC?
It was legal.
It's
legal.
Therapeutic use.
Then.
Yeah, but now it's
Nevada came in and went, whoa, hold the fuck up. What's going on here? First of all, there were guys that were in their 20s that had been prescribed it. And they're like, well, what happened? Why do you have a low test? And most of them, it's because of steroid use. Yeah. And we all know that there's a way of manipulating those tests too.
Right. And maybe some are overtrained, not sleeping well on top of
100%.
And if you don't think those tests get manipulated about like what you need to do in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I show you how to get human growth hormone and basically, go to your doctor and do this and that. And the way that you take the test was you had to like pee in this bag basically all day long, and then you take a sample of that urine. But the way that I did it was I only took the urine from like 2 samples that were taken at night when your growth hormone is the lowest. So my growth hormone looked like it came from a guy who's 125 years old. They're like, oh my God, you have no growth hormone. Well, if you took it in the morning, it would and balance it out during the day, it would have been
normal.
It would have been normal, but it was really low. So I just wanted the doctor to give me growth hormone to see if they would do it for the movie.
Right. Well, they say if you eat a very large fatty meal, like cheeseburgers and fries and shit, like a big burger, like right before you take the test, like within an hour of the test, your shit just plummets. Yeah. Your test plummets, your growth plummets, everything just goes, oh.
Well, there's ways to beat all these tests, even the guys that are beating the test to compete. Lance Armstrong, all these guys.
The Armstrong Lie is a good documentary too. I don't know if you saw that. It's fucking incredible.
Amazing. Well, Jeff Nowitzki, the guy who busted Lance Armstrong, is going to be on my podcast next week.
Oh, cool.
I fucking can't wait. Awesome. I had a great conversation. The UFC hired him to try to clean up the sport. I don't know. Well, that's like going to a hoarder's house.
No, you need to hire the other guy.
You need to eat off this floor.
Yeah.
At this point, hire the Ferrari guy, the guy that was Lance Armstrong's coach.
Oh, the guy. Because
the other guy was trying to beat everything.
No matter what you do, the cheaters will always be ahead.
Right.
of the guys that are trying to catch them. It's just a cat and mouse game. It's been going on forever.
Yeah, well, they're kind of ahead now. What they're doing now is they're, the way they make testosterone, apparently they do something with yams. That's how they make it. Do you know the process?
Mexican wild yams.
Yeah. Well, now
they don't do that anymore.
Where it's like derived from or something.
Yeah. Well, now they figured out how to do it with animals, and they've made a bioidentical testosterone that's you can't differentiate.
There you go. Wow. So we just spoke about stem cells. Now, stem cells aren't going to make you superhuman, but stem cells are going to allow you a Vitor Belfort, right? Now that he can't do the testosterone replacement, he gets stem cells done to all of his existing injuries. He's basically got a clean slate, and he's back to normal without all these injuries.
Where do you draw the line, I guess,
that you built over time. A baseball pitcher could pitch 10 more years. How is that going to affect the future of sports with the records and all these things? Like, who can hit the most home runs and who can, play the longest and all.
Yeah, it's like there's a word that's a banned word. Steroids is like, it's a negative word, and that word will never be polished up. You know what I mean? It's like the Barry Bonds shit with Mark McGuire all over Congress. Right. By the way, that was one of my favorite parts of the documentary, was watching those dummies in Congress.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Seeing Joe Biden talk about, remember when I was a good athlete, I thought, the fuck you were. The fuck you were good at anything.
Yeah,
you were never a good athlete. I would like to see some evidence of that, sir. They took it away from me. It wasn't by God-given talent. Like, what?
He's a third string baseball player, like, community college.
Yeah, whatever he was.
Save it, buddy.
Whatever he was. Just shut your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, was like they bring up these baseball players and string them up before Congress. Yeah. It becomes this like huge media circus. Everybody, loves to see that. Oh, look at their, they're pointing out all these guys and they're the bad guys. And you have guys like Mark McGuire up there looking like, Mark McGuire said steroids is bad. It's a bad message. Don't do them. It's like, this is people. These are these heroes to these kids up there that are completely looking like idiots. And there's a better way to handle it.
Well, it just seemed really frivolous that they were in front of Congress for they're getting too good at hitting the ball with the stick. We need to bring in all our leaders. Right. Like, what the fuck?
Insane.
It doesn't even seem real. It seems like a plot in a movie.
Even in swimming, they made suits a few years ago. They got rid of them right away. It's a Speedo company made a suit that makes you swim faster, and as soon as they did that, they were like, whoa, we don't want you swimming that fast, so they got rid of them.
So it was like a bodysuit, like you put it in your whole body.
Yeah, it's a bodysuit.
So like a wetsuit.
Yeah, well, just
like a lycra looking.
I think it helped increase like buoyancy a little bit, and just helped you kind of glide through the pool faster.
That's pretty dope. Where I get one of those?
Yeah. Well, I guess
a little Speedo.
The issue with it was it's expensive, and so they were like, oh, it might price some people out of it or whatever. I was just like, I don't even understand what that means.
Yeah,
because all these sports end up being pretty expensive.
Come on, man. The amount of money that's involved in training for the Olympics for swimming.
The things that are going on now with training are insane. I did my second film, did a movie called Trophy Kids, and it's about parents that push their kids in sports, and that was on HBO. And the thing that is so crazy now is the way that parents have access to all these things we didn't have. Like, you'll go to a baseball camp, and they have like this, Nike makes this hand-eye coordination thing that you wouldn't believe, how it tells you like what position your kid should play. It tells you, and parents are actually going and getting genetic testing on their kid. They swab the inside of their kid's cheek, and they send it off to this company, and it'll tell the parent what sports the kid will be good at. This is when they're like an infant. So there's some crazy stuff going on where technology is far exceeding what we've been able to do before.
That's fucking madness.
It's wild
Swabbing
shit.
Your kid's cheek. To find out what sport they should do.
Well, there's a California cryobank. It's like a sperm bank, and it's at UCLA.
Don't get that confused with getting frozen.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
walked into the cryobank.
What's
jerk off in this cup.
What the fuck?
So
this is part of the therapy. I have arthritis.
Wow, I feel great. That Joe Rogan was fucking right.
This cryobank shit tastes great. Anyway, you can get. It actually shows a guy on HBO Real Sports. He goes in and basically they custom order their kid, and it's like this fat.
What the hell?
It's like this fat Mexican guy. He goes in and he says, "I want a kid just like me, blue eyes, blonde hair, and big calves." And it's like he looks nothing like the guy.
So it's not his sperm. He's using someone else's sperm.
He's using a sperm donor because he couldn't get his wife pregnant.
Right.
And they decide, well, we want our kid to be the father's like,
Viking.
similar to, similar to me, like
Right.
athletic and outgoing, and so they picked a 6'2", blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid with, and it actually says on the application, huge calves.
Huge calves on the application. What the fuck?
So the
amazing.
California Cryobank goes out and they recruit players. I went to USC, so I know like it goes on at USC. They go out and recruit players to make extra money. You can make $900 a month or something, jerking off in a cup, and basically selling it to
God damn.
parents.
Wow.
It's a good deal. I mean,
Yeah, it's not a bad deal. If you have to rent, you got to pay it somehow.
My
Yeah.
sperm might be tainted.
Probably. Yeah, they don't need to know that.
No, but it's amazing. It's an amazing phenomenon to see parents now getting into like, how am I going to help my kid cheat?
Well, it's getting to the point also where they're within a few years. Have you heard of CRISPR? Do you know what CRISPR is?
No.
There's a Radio Lab documentary that they did on it. It's or a Radio Lab episode rather. It's all about this new tool that they have for engineering genetics and for splicing genes and for adding traits or subtracting traits.
Sure.
And you showed on the documentary the myostatin inhibitors that they're doing with these cows that make these cows grow enormous amounts of muscle. Well, first of all, they could do it now to pigs, and they're going to be able to do it to people. It's just a matter of when.
Jesus
is it going to
Christ.
be in a year? Is it going to be in a decade? It's going to happen. If we live another 100 years, if human beings survive 100 years, and the asteroids don't blow us up or we don't get hit by a fucking nuke, we're going to have myostatin inhibited people.
Oh, sure.
That look like the Hulk.
That's fucking craziness.
It's going to be nuts, and they're going to live longer. That's what's even more fucked up.
What do you
When
think
they did it
about
to mice,
steroids in the UFC? Like, what's your take on it? Like, do you think they should be illegal or monitored, or
Well,
what do
I
you
think
should be
it's
done?
going to be a moot point once you get to genetic engineering. And I think ultimately what steroids are is it's a form of engineering. It's a form of biological engineering.
Right.
You're taking these substances and you're adding them to people. But as you pointed out in your documentary, look at the guy who was the Tour de France guy that had this oxygen tent, these hyperbaric or these
hyperbaric chambers.
altitude chambers,
chambers.
hyperbaric chambers. What I do all the time, the cryogenic freeze tanks, all that shit is cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to look at it, I take TRT, I take human growth hormone. If I was competing in somewhere that wouldn't let me take that, that would be considered cheating. But for life, like. I'm like, look, if you're 48 years old and you're not taking testosterone, what do you hate life? You
Right.
Yeah.
You hate having energy?
Sort of
What are you
throwing
doing?
it away,
You
'cause
like,
it's like-
you like your immune system sucking?
Yeah, you want to feel better, look
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Your body works better.
It's all about
that simple.
optimizing what you already are. And I think when people go beyond that, that's when it becomes into like, okay, well, then it's cheating. I don't know why people think that, but that's what it is. It's like, if you say, well, I'm on TRT, nobody really cares, And the same commercials for TRT, I don't know if you noticed, but during the World Series, the same sport that they condemn for steroids, during the commercial break, the first commercial, do you have low T?
Yeah.
That's the very first commercial that comes
It's hilarious. I think that the issue with steroids also for a lot of people is they believe that it's going to get kids into them and that the kids are going to get sick or they're going to get hurt or they're going to commit suicide like the guy in the documentary
Sure.
had. He was convinced that his kid who he had on Lexapro, who was a teenager, he was convinced that it was steroids that made
Right.
this kid commit suicide. And steroids very well may have played a factor. Abuse of anything is
Sure.
bad, whether it's abuse of alcohol. There's a lot of different drugs, painkillers that you can abuse that'll make you suicidal. Abuse of anything is
Sure.
bad. So to blame it on one thing, that guy had this blanket thought in his mind. He's just going to throw a blanket over the problem. The problem with steroids.
I don't even think you can blame it on the Lexapro. There's a deeper issue going on with the child that
Yeah.
takes his own life.
He certainly had some issues, and he also didn't want to communicate with his parents these issues too much. And
There's a
fact
lot
that
more
his-
going on with that story than I put in the movie, and that was to protect. It's like
The
somebody
kid's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
somebody
gone.
loses a child. I don't want to go into their family history and all these other things that we
Right.
found out. But yeah, it's definitely
Well,
hard.
good for you for doing that. That's a noble
and they
thing.
gave his father $1 million to go in front to continue this education, to continue lying to people, basically.
Well, that makes sense because that's why he had this thought in his head. Like, he wouldn't even consider the fact that his kid's on psychoactive drugs. And those had nothing to do with the fact that his brain was fucked up.
Sure.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah, the
you
others-
don't know. You don't know what the
Those
fuck.
drugs are dangerous to anybody. There's
They can be.
there's 100 million people walking around on psych meds, and
Yeah.
there's really no proof that they actually work. There's really no scientific proof that they improve any sort of problem.
But is that true though? Because they definitely do help some people.
I think they definitely help some people, but there's actually nothing. There's no, if you look at, you can look at, like I said, anecdotal evidence for anything. I took this and I got bigger. I took this and I got stronger. Scientific proof, no, because there's no real markers in the brain. There's no test I can give you to see if you feel better.
Right. There's no depression test.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's the issue. But there's a lot of evidence that SSRIs help improve mood, right? And they do.
Yeah. But there's also. While they improve mood in some people, a lot of people commit suicide on them because they are so low down. Like you'll see a person that's like severely, severely depressed. They can't even get out of bed to kill themselves. And then they put them on SSRIs. And now they have just enough energy to like say, fuck it, And that's what's
Jesus Christ. That's so crazy.
Also with steroids, though, when, that kid, he just stopped cold turkey. He stopped the steroids right away and then went on those other drugs. But stopping them, as you mentioned earlier, like if you're 48 years old, you want to get the energy boost from them. Just like coming off them actually puts you at a lower state than you ever were before. So with that kid coming off them, his testosterone levels were probably low. His estrogen levels probably came up. He's probably just insanely depressed.
And that does get you depressed. And that's a big issue with fighters and football players and people that have had a lot of head injuries. Dr. Mark Gordon, who was in your documentary for a brief amount of time, I saw his face in there. He works with a lot of traumatic brain injury people, and one of the things that he finds with them, they almost all have low testosterone.
Sure.
Right. And something about getting the pituitary gland rattled, whether it's through an IED or football collisions or head kicks, whatever the fuck it is, almost all those guys have low testerone. They're just like super.
It's almost like you're getting kicked in the balls.
You ever pose a question to this, like Nevada State Athletic Commission? All these guys are getting pounded in the head in the UFC. They get punched a lot. They get kicked a lot. Head trauma is a on-the-job injury, but you're not allowed to treat an on-the-job injury with something that works like human growth hormone. Like you'll talk to Mark Gordon, he'll tell you like one of the best things they can do to treat these concussions and traumatic brain injuries is to supplement with human growth hormone. So you can't treat those injuries. You can get them, and if you're a normal everyday person, you can be treated. But you can't be treated if you're a fighter or if you're an athlete,
And there's a thing with fighters as well now. They're not allowing them to use IVs to rehydrate. And the reason why is because IVs and use of IVs can mask some of the signs of steroids. So something that was ultimately very beneficial now you can't use because people can use it to cheat. So even though it's just to rehydrate you, and even if they can prove that it's just rehydrating you, you can't use it because it could be something that you're doing because you're trying to cover up.
It's actually probably healthier for the fighter like a day before to have all those electrolytes in them and everything in them, right? I mean, rather than fight depleted.
Since they're cutting weight, that's the argument. But there's some arguments, some people, I don't know if I haven't researched it, but there's some people that say that it's actually more effective to rehydrate orally. I've heard that's bullshit. I've heard that's true. I don't know what's right. I'd have to talk to an expert about that. So do a Google.
It's hard to be way on top of all that though. Like when you're these fighters, they travel. In powerlifting we do the same thing. We use IV bags to rehydrate, and guys will do 30-pound weight cuts and stuff like that.
So you do 30-pound weight cuts so that you compete at a lower level to powerlift?
Yeah, lighter weight class. Yeah.
At least you're not getting hit in the head though. The problem,
right.
The rehydration orally, if it's not effective, is if you fight in a dehydrated state and you get rattled, your brain bleeds.
Right.
They say that almost all the deaths in pro boxing, almost all of them were in the lighter weight divisions.
Wow.
Even though the heavyweights hit hardest, they didn't cut weight. So they didn't have all the same problems.
Right. Is there any rules in UFC about cutting weight? How much percentage you can cut?
There should be. If you can make the weight, you can fight. You just have to make the weight 4 o'clock on Friday, and then Saturday, whenever your fight is, the fights don't start till 4.
Do you think this IV thing will change the game?
I hope it does. I also think the UFC probably is going to have to add more weight classes eventually because there's not enough weight classes. There's some big gaps between like 185 and 205. That's a 20-pound weight class. That's a giant gap.
Yeah.
I think that for fighters that are like tweeners, there's guys that are like a little bit too big for this weight, but a little bit too small for that weight. They could use a 195. I think every 10 pounds would be pretty
Seems like it'd be
reasonable.
an advantage to actual, to the fans and everything. It'd be more champions, more championship fights, more
and then
everything.
Also there could be some reasonable like champion versus champion, like 195 versus 205 is pretty reasonable. Whereas like 185 versus 205, like man, that's a big fucking jump for those guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think to answer your question about steroids in the UFC, I think we have to kind of define. I think the real problem is what we said earlier, that the word steroid it's like
Dirty.
tainted. It's a dirty word. But if it's far as like supplements, should supplements be legal?
Right.
Kind of everybody says supplements are legal. Fuck, we have Muscle Farm that sponsors the UFC.
Sure.
They sell a ton of shit that's supposed to help you recover, and protein powders and all this jazz.
Yeah.
Think about creatine, absolutely clinically proven to enhance performance. There's a lot of stuff that you can get that's legal.
Even caffeine.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all stuff that gives you like a very slight bump, a very slight edge, and then taken all together synergistically, like it will supplement, like it says, your diet. So if you have a diet where you're not getting enough stuff in it, like I was just reading this, I posted some on Facebook the other day, and people went crazy because I posted this thing about fish oil and the effectiveness of fish oil not being really scientifically proven. It's like if you eat fish twice a week, then you don't need it. And everybody goes crazy. No, I need it. People are convinced. The supplement industry is a $24 billion.
No, I need to burp up fish oil. I'm convinced of that. I need to have 20 pills a day.
It's a $24 billion industry, and people are convinced that they need these things.
There is some science behind fish oil and krill oil, though, especially the anti-inflammatory process.
The anti-inflammatory at a high dose, yes.
Yeah, that's what I do. I take a lot of fish oil.
So it makes sense for that. For if you're trying to like prevent heart disease and all these things like that, they're saying that there's really the link isn't there, and if you eat fatty fish, you probably get enough in your diet.
Yeah, well, really good fish like salmon that's high in those healthy fats. Everybody should eat that like once or twice a week.
Have
it's
some
really
fucking
good for you.
sushi.
Yeah,
I mean, I believe I'll read all this shit about supplements, right? All this stuff. I'll read like, okay, this doesn't work, and this barely works, and whatever. And the next thing I do, I go open up my cabinet and I take 20 pills because it doesn't fucking work. I don't know. I mean, it's like that placebo effect is really strong, and certain things I take because I heard this works for alpha lipoic acid. When you eat carbs, it'll help shuttle it in your muscles. Well, do I know that even works? Like, I don't know.
Alpha lipoic acid is supposed to be clinically proven, isn't it? I think there's studies on alpha lipoic acid.
Yeah, I'm sure there's studies on everything.
Then you get into like the whole thing. It's an antioxidant, and then you're like, well, wait a second, what the fuck's an antioxidant? Why do I need it? Why do I need it? Like you forget even why you need it to a certain point.
Right. Well, berries are like the best antioxidant, aren't they? Like blueberries and boysenberries.
And then they find out there's studies that say that eating antioxidants in your diet doesn't really matter. It doesn't translate into antioxidants in the bloodstream and all this stuff like that. So you got to look at it like they say you need certain precursors to be able to digest these things. So
it's too goddamn complicated.
Just go eat
ice cream.
It's too fucking complicated.
You need to be your own doctor. You do your own research.
I find I get big benefits when I eat a lot of vegetables.
Absolutely.
I feel a big benefit when I drink like these kale shakes. It's kale,
no.
Kale and
Get the man a kale salad.
You want to do it?
I thought you were tough.
Dude, it's good stuff for you. It's healthy.
No, he just makes fun of Cal all the time.
I was making fun of one of my friends because he's like, I went over here and had a kale salad. And he's super skinny. I'm like, dude, a kale salad? Come on, just make up a lie. Say that you had a fucking 20-ounce ribeye.
Well, you can have both.
I just think in general,
that's
the
best
amount,
way to go.
Like we need vitamins. We need vitamins and minerals, and we need all these things in our diet.
Yeah.
And so vegetables are probably the most abundant source of great nutrients. Vegetables and fruits and things like that. So like, why wouldn't you eat them? Like it seems.
All
to
I
make
know
sense,
is I feel different when I eat them. When I have one of those kale shakes with giant clumps of fucking ginger in it and 4 cloves of garlic and an apple and celery
It's
and
amazing.
cucumber.
You feel like fucking
choke
Superman.
It. You got to choke it down. It tastes like shit. But when you're choking it down, once you get it in, you're like, whoo! You feel like you had like a double shot of espresso, but you don't feel like jittery. You just feel like fucking yeah.
I remember talking to you about it was kind of amazing, and it was kind of a good example for me. Talking to you about, like, you were talking about going on the road and traveling, and you said, oh man, I need to find a Whole Foods. I don't eat that processed shit. And like, to me, that was like a real eye-opener to find that like somebody as busy as yourself goes out of their way to find like good healthy food.
It's important.
It's probably more important almost for him because he's on a plane or in a car or some shit all the time.
It's just you can only go so many. I always bring vitamin packs. I have those pure athlete packs I bring with me to supplement when I'm on the road. I always make sure I eat a lot of salads. Like I get salads before every meal. Whatever I'm eating, I eat salads first. But it's hard. It's hard to find, food that's not just full of garbage and bullshit.
Contaminated nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you go to Subway. I mean, yeah, you get bread and there's meat in there, and it kind of can fill you up. But like, all the different preservatives and nonsense and processed bullshit
Fucking kills your stomach.
Yeah, it's just
all the gluten.
Oh, it's just
Chris's girlfriend eats tons of vegetables, and she's super hot. So It must be working.
Maybe that's the formula.
She's jacked.
We can all be super hot chicks and just eat
Right.
tons of vegetables. If Bruce Jenner had only known about this.
Yeah. The
so
kale
I
salad.
think but the key, like you said, is good nutrition.
Yeah.
Good solid things in your diet.
I think when you're dealing with things like UFC fighters, you're dealing with a level of performance that they're requiring of their body that's so extreme. Because even boxers, like the average boxer, they do their boxing workout, they'll spar a couple of times a week depending upon the philosophy of the camp, and in the morning they usually run. Like maybe they'll have a strength and conditioning session instead of a run, but they're doing 2 workouts a day, and one of them is pretty mild. It's not that big a deal. So they're, they can get through a 6 to 8 week camp, and most likely they never pull out of fights. It's very rare that a championship fight, like Manny Pacquiao almost pulled out the Floyd Mayweather fight because he apparently tore his labrum, but he wound up fighting. Now there's a lawsuit because he pushed through the injury.
Oh, Jesus.
You hear about all that? Like,
no, I didn't hear
5 different people are suing him because they bet a lot of money on him.
Oh, shit.
They didn't know that his right shoulder was fucked up. He had surgery right after the fight.
Wow.
But for the UFC, fucking 20% of the fights fall apart, at least.
Yeah.
And guys fight injured all the time. Even Conor McGregor, when he fought against Chad Mendes after Aldo pulled out of the fight, McGregor had been getting stem cell shots in his knee.
Yeah.
He was fucked.
Jeez.
He was thinking he didn't wrestle the entire camp because he was thinking there's no way. He was like, I can't, it'll fall apart.
It was a good fight.
Great fight.
Yeah, it was great. It's got to be the toughest sport. I mean, I say that.
I think so.
People go like, "Oh, basketball players are the best athletes," or "These guys are the best athletes." I just think that the amount of maybe genetically basketball, but the amount of effort it takes to step into the octagon, the amount of mental focus, it's like, to me, that's amazing. It's like truly baffled by it.
Basketball, I think, has the best 6'6" athletes.
Yeah. Well, fighting is not made up. It's something that is like part of us. Everything else is made up. Football, basketball, baseball. Made up sports,
When it came along, we were like, this is the only sport to me that makes sense. Like it really makes sense. It's like,
but the movements and the art are all made up.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
somebody had to figure out what's the most effective way of striking and moving,
how do I fuck someone up the
grappling.
fastest?
Yeah, I mean, all of that is where the sport lies. But I think you're right about the level of athlete. When you see the guys that play for the NFL, I mean, those are fucking super freaks.
Yeah, well, those motherfuckers will be coming in the UFC soon, I'm sure.
Well, if the money becomes right.
Yeah.
well, that's John Jones. John Jones could have probably opted to go and play in the NFL.
100%. His brothers both do. He could have.
Yeah.
What's crazy is he's not even the toughest one in his family. Both his brothers say they kick his ass. His younger brother and his older brother.
That's crazy.
Fucked.
Yeah, I saw
what
when
fucking family is that?
One of the guys got drafted. One of his brothers got drafted. I saw him. They're all jumping on each other and shit. They're all kicking the shit out of each other. I was like, Jesus Christ! A lot of shit must have got broken in that house.
Oh yeah, I think that's why it happened, and that's why he came out so badass and not afraid of anything.
Talk about genetics. I mean, like that family, the Manning family, like there's these families are just incredible.
Yeah.
Genetics, and that goes a long way.
Oh, 100%.
And everything we're talking about.
Matt Hughes, former UFC welterweight champion. His brother is a twin. Looks exactly like him. Their entire lives, they beat the fuck out of each other. So, of course, he gets to the UFC with his fucking steely-eyed gaze. He's used to facing himself, literally.
Yeah.
Like a mirror version of him, beating the fuck out of him his whole life. They're just smashing each other, running through walls like Juggernaut.
Yeah.
The ultimate sparring partner.
Well, that's why I used to pick people up and slam them.
Yeah, there's his brother's bigger. Wow, his brother's 265. Jesus Christ. His brother was talking all kinds of shit that he would kick his brother's ass.
Well, I think John Jones could probably get up to that weight, right? I mean, he's probably fighting his whole life, so.
Well, Chandler, I think, is a bigger guy. He's 1 inch taller.
He has 2 brothers in the NFL, right?
Yeah, Arthur, too. His brother Arthur's even bigger than Chandler. His brother Arthur's more than 300 pounds.
Man.
That's a super athlete family. His dad's a big dude, too. His dad is just naturally just very gifted.
It's taken a long time for the sport to evolve to where it is. Like I'm interested to see what will happen with the female division. Like Ronda's just killing everybody, and she's obviously amazing. But I don't think the girls have caught up to where the guys are at.
No, not yet. But have you seen Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the strawweight champion? Dude, you think Ronda's impressive? This bitch is ruthless. She's from Poland. She's
what does she weigh?
115. 6-time world Muay Thai champion. We did that was a Fight Companion one, right? We watched that girl get busted up. Jessica Penne. Oh my God, dude. It's the ugliest female fight I've ever seen in my life. This girl's nose was smashed, a giant gash across her nose, and this Joanna chick from Poland was just beating the fuck out of her, literally, to the point where you're watching it, like saying, please stop this fight. Like this fight is a terrible mismatch. Like that chick is lethal. Because like when Ronda beats chicks up, like she knocked out Betch with 1 punch.
Yeah.
And most of the time, she flips chicks on their back and arm bars them in the first round. This bitch beats the fuck out of chicks for like 4 rounds.
That's got to be cool calling that stuff, because I saw your excitement, and it was like so genuine. You know, you're so pumped to call that fight. You know?
The Ronda fight?
Yeah, you were like pumped. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, those.
You could feel it though when you watch it.
It was a piece of history. I felt like where she's at right now is just so strange and rare. It's like, it's not just calling a fight. It's like, I feel like I'm calling a piece of like human history.
Yeah, it's an event. Modern day Mike Tyson.
She's like a real Charlie's Angels character.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been like a hot chick that actually can fuck up a lot of dudes.
Yeah, it's always been fake in a movie. Okay, here's Wonder Woman. Ching, ching. You know, it's like fake.
If someone was pounding on your door at like 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like, what the fuck? And you open up the door and it was Ronda Rousey angry. You'd be like, oh shit. Your heart would drop. You're like, this bitch is going to beat my ass right now.
Yeah,
like,
was I farting in my sleep or something?
If she was outside, she could, and she break in your house, she could kick your ass. Like, that's real.
Yeah, and her confidence is through the roof. I just saw something today where she's like, can you beat Floyd Mayweather in a fight or whatever? And she's like, yeah, in a no rules fight, I could beat anybody.
Well, she said, I'm not in a boxing match. She's like, he's a boxer. I'm sure he would beat me in a boxing match. She goes, but I don't have matches. I have fights.
Right.
And she's just letting him know.
Yeah, she's a badass, man.
She got a hold of him. He's going flying. Yeah. That's for sure. There's no way he's going to be able to understand what she's doing.
No.
If he tied up with her, he'd have so much to think about.
I'm sure she trains with guys all the time, right?
100%. I've seen her. I've been there in the gym with her, flipping guys. I've seen her tap guys. I've seen it with my own eyes. Tap good guys.
Yeah.
Get them in arm bars. There's a video of her with
like,
Luke Rockhold.
I wasn't trying.
No, they're fucking trying. There's a video with her with Luke Rockhold. And, Luke lets her get into a position. But she finishes him. Luke Rockhold's a fucking giant dude.
Yeah, he's big. Yeah.
He fights at 185, cuts a lot of weight to get down there.
He's strong.
He's a stud. And she finished him with an armbar. I'm like, whoa.
It's not even embarrassing. She's the fucking best.
She's pretty goddamn wicked. But
what
there's going to be more girls like her.
What about steroids in that division? With
that's the issue.
They talk about Cyborg.
Yeah, that's the issue.
You got guys like, I know you talk about it a lot in your podcast. You get into steroids here and there, and a lot of guys don't even look like they're doing it. Like Gilbert Melendez or Hoist Gracie. It's like you can't tell anymore.
Well, Hoist actually did look like he was doing it when he got popped.
Yeah.
When he got popped, we were there for that fight, and I was there with my friend Eddie Bravo, and Eddie was like, dude, when was the last time you saw Hoist with traps?
Yeah.
Like, he had traps, like, he was pretty jacked, and he was way heavier than normal. He was like, he usually is around 170 something. He was well over 200 pounds.
But I think because the benefit of steroids isn't just with weightlifting. It's like overall recovery, overall energy and health.
Yeah.
That
and the guys are
people
probably taking a cocktail, probably a little growth hormone, a little test, a little EPO.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. I think the EPO is a big thing too.
The vibrancy, just the having energy, just having enthusiasm, and
they don't test for EPO, do they?
Oh yes, they do.
They do now.
Ali Bagutinov got popped for it when he fought against Mighty Mouse Johnson for the flyweight title, and he's still suspended because of it. Yeah, there's guys who
because I know that EPO test is pretty. It's a little wishy-washy. When we did Bigger, Stronger, Faster, we looked heavily into the EPO test, and there's a guy that came up with a definitive EPO test. Definitive, like just either you're on it or you're not, synthetically. And he got a letter from the Olympic Committee saying, from the USOC saying, we can't use your test because we'll be at an unfair, it'll be unfair to the Americans.
Because the other foreign countries are relying on a loosey-goosey test.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. So what they're saying is we're going to have to allow a certain amount of cheating to win.
Exactly.
That's really what they're saying.
Well, we have to be able to cheat just as much as the rest of them. If you look at the, when they do these testosterone ratios, like 99.9% of human beings should be at a 1-to-1 ratio, epitestosterone to testosterone kind of thing, and they allow it to be like 4-to-1 or 6-to-1.
They used to allow 6. Now they allow 4.
Yeah, now they allow 4, right? So you can take a little bit and be under the radar.
We've had guys pop at like 50-to-1.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. Yeah. They're like gorillas.
I want to see a non-tested UFC and have the guys weigh like over 300 pounds. They go 1 minute on and 5 minutes off.
Yeah, there you go.
And just let them just kill each other. Just let them just fucking slug it out.
I like the 1
And
minute
also,
on,
you
5 minutes off.
you can't train. That's the other thing. You can't train for fighting because that's an unfair advantage too. Then you know how to fight, and it ruins the fun.
Well, the other person's training too, so it's not unfair advantage.
Well, you
It's
can
an
lift
advantage.
weights. That's about it.
That's it. Just lifting. I think that there's a benefit to being a certain weight, but there's negative effect when you get over a certain weight. And I think 240 is around the right weight.
I think body weight or body. How lean you are is probably a big thing too. I think once you get under 10%, I think is when you start to get in trouble. Unless you're used to that, unless your body's always under 10%, then you could probably operate at that body, at that being that lean for a while. You know.
I just think if guys have good defensive skills and they can avoid the bum rush for the first couple rounds, guys who are like over 240, they have a real hard time getting into the third, fourth, and fifth rounds. There's just too much mass to carry around, the bones and the muscle and all the blood.
It hurts being that big.
Yeah, the oxygen requirements. So I think like a guy like Cain Velasquez is always about 240.
Right.
He's known for his spectacular cardio. Fabricio Verdum, same thing, somewhere in the 230s. That seems to be the right
That
weight.
was a shocking fight, huh?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Cain fucked up. I mean, Cain is known for his cardio, so I think he just got a little cocky and decided not to go to Mexico City. But Mexico City is so, I can't believe how high it is. It's 7,000 plus feet above altitude.
Did you have trouble breathing there?
I did. I worked out in the gym with a fucking elliptical machine that was breathing heavy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I was like, I can't believe these guys are going to fight. But Fabricio was real smart. He moved to a place that's 1,000 feet above that for like a month and a half. And Cain was only there for 2 weeks.
And he's improved all the Fabricio, you know, I see him all the time at Gold's Gym. He's improved vastly, you know, every step of the way, which is nice to see too.
Well, he was such a high-level jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
He was one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the world. And to get that good at jiu-jitsu, you have to have an intense mind for learning.
Yeah.
And so he just took that and applied it to boxing and kickboxing. And just once he figured that out, everybody was fucked.
Yeah,
because
he's
like
dangerous.
you don't want to go to the ground with that dude.
Yeah, he's beat some awesome fighters.
Yeah.
I mean,
He beat Fedor Emelianenko, the first guy, right?
He's first guy to submit Fedor, first guy to submit Cain. You know, that's a pretty goddamn spectacular resume. All he has to do is beat a few more guys, and he is arguably one of the greatest heavyweights, if not the greatest of all time.
Sure.
It's interesting you bring up those two fighters. It makes me kind of think like maybe there's a upper weight limit of muscle mass that you can carry around because like neither one of those guys is real lean. So maybe around a 200-pound mark is probably almost like the cutoff. If you start being more jacked than that, maybe you can't sustain it for 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of durability. Like you want to be big enough so that you could take shots, but you can't be too big because you just can't carry it. And those, especially a guy like Cain, like
Although
he's
Coleman and Kerr were kind of the exception, I guess.
Yeah, but they were on everything. They were on bathtubs full of shit.
Brock Lesnar's an animal, just an animal.
He's such a freak of nature. I still maintain to this day that if somebody got a hold of Brock Lesnar early on and said, listen to me, and you can be the best heavyweight fighter ever, like a Faraz Zahabi or a Matt Hume, like someone who's a real expert in MMA, who Brock listened to and just said, look, this is what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do nothing but striking for like a couple of years.
Right.
And you're not going to get hit. I don't want you to develop any bad habits. You're not hitting anybody either. All you're going to do is you're going to do movement with people. We're going to hit. You're going to do pad work. You're going to do technique work, and we're going to have that shit built into your neurons.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have all these movements. They're going to be a part of your natural movement. And if you're willing to do that, you're going to develop a base, and that base will translate into success. But otherwise, you're going to be scared of getting hit, and that's what his problem always was. He would always get tagged by like someone like Shane Carwin or Alistair Overeem, and you could see just he didn't have enough time in there.
He doesn't like it either.
Yeah, you got to spar with guys who barely touch you. They're not hurting you, and you don't hurt them. And that's in the beginning. That's like the most critical thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're gonna miss giant chunks of the development. Because you just get a fucking swing.
It was amazing that he was able to get to where he did, doing all those years of like WWE first.
Yeah,
you know, like
what
just
a fucking
like,
mutant.
what if he just went? What if he had just, like you said, gone straight in?
Oh, he would have been the best ever.
But he's still a heavyweight champion of the fucking world.
He still knocked out Randy Couture. I mean, he's a stud. Beat the shit out of Frank Mir. He's a stud.
Yeah, I love watching him.
He just had to. I was kind of bummed but happy when he decided to quit MMA. Recently, he had a moment where he was trying to figure out whether he's going to keep going to WWE or give one more shot at the UFC.
Right.
And I know he talked to Dana, he talked to the UFC. He was really thinking about it.
Yeah.
But ultimately decided
You don't want to
for
see him
himself.
go down a bad path of like being the guy that gets,
Concussions
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I think
all
that
that.
was a big one. He was worried about post-concussion syndrome. Like Joseph Valtellini, who's the Glory welterweight champion, he just stepped down and relinquished his title because of concussions. Like concussions in MMA are a big fucking issue.
Yeah.
You don't hear about it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, like, I watch a lot of fights where, you want to see him go on. You just want to see these, some guys will get
don't stop it,
pounded.
don't stop it.
Some guys will
Yeah.
get pounded.
And come back.
And they come right back. And,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, well, good thing they didn't call it, Great job, Herb Dean or whoever the ref is. And then other times, guys get pounded, and they get pounded 10 times in a row, and then they're out. And then it's like, well, did they need the 10 shots to be out? It's...
While the fight is actually happening, I always root for the guy to come back. But after the fight's over, like if I'm analyzing it from a rational standpoint, I'm always like, oh, stop it.
He's in trouble, yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, you're ringside. I mean, it must be a little scary at times when people are getting
Sometimes.
blasted, right?
Some of the knockouts. There's been some knockouts where you just
And you
go,
probably
Jesus.
see the eyes and everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
How did you
Yeah.
get into that? Like, were you fighting before?
Way before. Yeah,
You were fighting way before. You had
before.
a really big interest in it.
Yeah. Well, I had stopped competing in 1988. That's when I got into comedy. And maybe 89 was probably my last kickboxing fights. And then I went into stand-up, and then I just trained recreationally until around 93. The UFC came around. I think I saw the first tape. I saw a tape of it at 94.
Yeah.
And then I was like, holy shit, what is this jiu-jitsu
yeah,
stuff?
we were there from day one, too. We
Fuck.
fucking
Yeah,
loved it.
I watched that first pay-per-view live. I remember that. It was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I didn't
was
get a
like,
chance. I saw it on tape. Someone talked about it at the gym, and I was like, "What is going on?" They were like, "They
We
get all
couldn't
these-
believe it. It
We
was
saw
like
the
a
commercial
dream
for
come
it.
true for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I
We
saw
loved
the
it.
commercial for it. I'm like, oh my God.
That was crazy back in the day. And remember, it used to be in the Faces of Death section at the video
Yeah,
store.
yeah.
It's like all the crazy
But it got
shit.
banned for a long time. It went
Yeah.
completely away.
Well, that's when I came in. I came in while it was banned. I started working in 97. So I started doing the post-fight interviews in 97 while I was on the sitcom, News Radio. I would go on the weekends, fly off to fucking bumfuck Alabama.
There's a great book, Blood in the Cage,
Yeah.
that outlines all that stuff. And it outlines how Dana got into it, and they went to an event, and he was like, this just sucks. They don't even sell T-shirts. They don't. What's
Yeah.
going on? We need to take this over. That kind of thing. It's really cool.
Yeah, they bought it in 2001, I think, and I came in 2002 and started doing the commentary.
Yeah.
I'd
and remember
quit
when
for
it got
a
in
few
trouble
years.
before the Ultimate Fighter, I actually worked for WWE, and Vince McMahon. I remember being in limo with Vince McMahon, being like, "Dude, it's like they're trying to sell it. You should buy it." And he
Yeah.
was like, I don't know. Then years later, they tried to unsuccessfully start some sort of MMA thing, but I think Vince's
Vince
name.
McMahon did?
Yeah, they tried to. They never got off the ground. They were like,
Oh, they were
working on it.
planning on it?
Yeah, what happened though was Vince, and he had a legitimate concern. Is like, I don't want. It'll take the legitimacy out of it. Like if he owned something like that.
They might think it's fixed.
They'll think it's fake.
Well, they didn't think that about the XFL.
I guess not.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
I think the real problem is the talent pool.
Yeah.
There's just not that many good fighters.
Right.
The UFC owns the contracts for 500 fighters.
Wow.
And they're all the best fighters.
Sure.
There's not one fighter in any weight class outside the UFC that you can make a rational argument that's the best fighter in that weight class. So once they have that, it's like, boy, it's hard to sell a league when you know that the UFC, this is our 170-pound world champion. Well, is that really? Because everybody knows Robbie Lawler's the fucking world champion.
It's hard for me to
Right.
watch any sort of competition.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. I get it.
Well, there's real good
Fighting's
fights in other organizations.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like World Series of Fighting has some good fights. Bellator has some good
Yeah.
fights. But it's just going to be real hard for them to build stars.
Right.
To build because everybody, a kid coming up, wants to be the best. If he wants to be the best 135-pounder, he wants to fight T.J. Dillashaw. He doesn't want to fight Marty McFuckface from Mike's Hardcore Fighting Championship. You know what I mean?
completely
It's like you want to be the best. So they're always going to recruit the best guys. They're ahead of the game. You know, it's not a lockdown game. And, you know, especially if Bellator signs Fedor and maybe somebody gets Gina Carano, like shit can get weird.
Yeah, I feel like it's all like the same with wrestling though. If you look at WWE, they've had a monopoly for a while. Then WCW came along and they started getting popular. But then, you know, now the leagues, the other league TNA, it's so lame. You know, it's like nobody really gives a fuck about it at all. And that's the thing is like, in the end, like UFC it'll be around forever. It's like the NFL. Unless
they sell it, they could get to a point where they're like, look, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is too much work,
killing us.
Because I mean, Dana works all day long, every day. He's constantly flying all over the world, and Lorenzo's doing the same thing. It's like it's a lot of work. It's not easy doing what those guys are doing. And when they're gone, everybody's gonna miss them. Yeah. People complain about the UFC, but when they're gone, you realize the alternative. They've created an industry.
People are mad about stupid uniforms. I mean, that's the last thing to get mad about.
Well, they have some points. I'm on the fighter side when it comes to that.
With the sponsorships.
Yeah, it's just they lose too much money. You know, it's just I
was lucky enough to get in on the last thing before Reebok took over with one of the fighters, and it was pretty cool. It's cool to see the logo up there and all that stuff. It was nice. You know?
People, well, that's a big part of what the fighters get is what you would say like ego sponsorships.
Right.
Like Dynamic Fastener is on like so. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
But it's on so many different T-shirts.
How do you?
So many.
Now Reebok said that I guess it seems like spread over all the fighters, they'll make more money. The younger fighters, or is that just not true?
I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's true. I think maybe if the deal changes or they start making more money and you know it becomes something bigger than what it is right now. But if you look at it right now, Tim Kennedy said it best recently. He said on one Strikeforce card he made more money in sponsorships than the Reebok paid out for the entire last UFC card from Brazil.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Wow.
So all those people wearing Reebok gear, he made more money from one fight in Strikeforce.
Yeah.
So
that's
it looked like Reebok got a pretty good deal from what I heard.
I don't think it's a good deal.
No, I mean for Reebok.
But no, I don't think it's a good deal for Reebok is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it gives them a bad name in some ways.
Yeah, I understand.
All these people complaining
where's
about
Tap Out and where's
Well, no, it's not Tap Out. But all these people are complaining. Like Tim Kennedy complaining, Stitch Duran complains, he gets fired. All these fighters are complaining. Lots of fighters are complaining.
Right.
Brendan Schaub complaining. All these different guys complained. That's all negative press towards their brand. I mean, they're not a person, right? They're a brand.
Correct.
And if you associate that brand, you can't like fire the head guy and change the brand. The brand's still the brand,
right?
You know, and everybody's going to associate that brand with it. Is it a big name brand? Yeah. Is it good to see a big name brand attached to a sport like the UFC? Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like whenever you're in a situation where the fighters are going to lose money, that's always the number one concern that people have. Everybody knows the window of opportunity for a fighter is extremely small. They have a few years to make some money.
Right.
So when you take some of that money away from them, in favor of prestige, which is inarguable, Reebok's a huge brand. It's great to be in business with a big brand.
Yeah.
But if it costs fighters money, boy, that's going to be hot. You can't not see that. It's not like people are going to put blinders on and ignore that. You have to address that.
And social media is a huge thing, so the fighters are going to be heard.
The hugest. Yeah. It's bigger than anything because if you bitch about something on Twitter and someone says, "Holy shit, Chris Bell just went off about that," and then some newspaper gets a hold of it, and then boom, it goes viral and Facebook and people repost it and tweet it. We live in a different world.
Yeah.
And so anytime someone like Stitch gets fired because he said something about, hey, Reebok, this deal kind of sucks for me because now I'm not making as much money, so they fire him, and then all of a sudden, boom, that becomes a way bigger issue than it was just with him saying that. If he just said that and that was it, it would have been a small issue.
Right.
But him saying that and then getting fired for it, it compounds the issue.
And people react quickly too.
Yes.
Social media, makes everything go a lot faster.
Yeah, they start wearing Nikes. They start. I mean, that's what. I'm not a business person. I'm not. I would, if I was running the UFC, it would have been bankrupt a long fucking time ago. But I think it's real. It's real dangerous looking at the bright side of deals like this.
Right.
Like, let's look at the bright side. Let's look at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
What's the worst case scenario? Everybody's going to hate Reebok.
Right.
That's the worst case scenario. People are going to be mad at the UFC and mad at Reebok. So I go, ooh, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I was able to sponsor Joseph Benavidez, and that was pretty cool. But
which company? What is your company?
Slingshot. The slingshot that I had you throw on earlier did some banged out some push-ups in.
Yeah, he's got this cool device that you slide. It's like this heavy-duty rubber thing that you slide up to your biceps. And it actually gives you a bit of an assistance when doing push-ups or bench press or something like that.
Yeah.
It feels good, man. I like it. Where can people get this when they want to get that?
HowMuchYouBench.net.
How much you bench, yo?
There's the fucking plug.
How much you bench? Yeah. Well, don't you bench some retarded number like 700 pounds?
My
705.
My best bench press in competition. This is with a bench shirt, which is much more heavy duty than something like the slingshot. It's this supportive device that's crazy looking. It looks like a straitjacket, but I did an 854-pound bench press in the 275-pound weight class. And then without a bench shirt, my best bench press is 560 pounds in competition.
That's like a Harley Davidson, right? How much do those weigh? Those weigh like 800 pounds. Fuck.
It's crazy.
That's a lot of goddamn weight, dude. How much?
I've been at it for a long time. I started when I was 12. 2 older brothers that are dicks that forced me to lift weights, even though I was a pussy and I didn't fucking want to.
Now, what are those bench shirts, those vests?
Yeah.
What do those things do?
Yeah, bench shirt.
It's like wearing a denim jacket backwards is what it's like.
Originally, it was designed just to be protective, and then people were like, "Wait a second! Not only is it protective, but I can lift more weight with it." And so then they started making them more and more extreme. They used to be like 1 layer, then they started making 2 layers, and they started making them out of a pair of fucking jeans. Then they started making them out of a canvas and all kinds of weird different material.
And it got to the point where people revolted against that, and now everybody lifts raw.
Everybody lifts without the bench shirt.
A lot of people lift raw because you could say, "Oh, how much do you bench?" "Oh, 5."
And raw would just be with just wrist wraps on.
What did you do raw? 560.
560.
That's crazy. You can do 300 pounds more with one of those shirts on.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
That is nuts.
Squat on a squat too. His squat was like 1,000 pounds.
Did 1,080 squat and fell pretty bad with 1,085.
You fell?
I fucking fell. Well, what happened was there's a girl that's was trained at our gym, and she's running the squat rack. The squat rack is called a monolift, and when you release this like lever so that I don't have to walk the weight backwards. You understand that?
Right.
I don't have to walk the weight backwards. The lever moves out of the way, and I pick the weight up and go. The problem is the girl's hot and she's in a sundress, and I'm trying to fucking concentrate on the lift here. And so midway down on the squat, one knee shoots out to the left. The other knee shoots out the other way, and next thing I know, I was on the fucking ground. So
was it on your back or in front of you? Like,
no,
how did it land?
Well, luckily I got kind of unloaded from the weight quickly. It fell back behind me, and I fell forward. But I was fucked up for months from that. That was a pretty bad.
How'd you fuck? Like what kind of injury?
You know what? I never went to the doctor. I'm not a fan of going to the doctor, so I just rubbed some fucking dirt on it and just lived with the pain for a while.
Ankle was like black and blue, right?
My ankle was fucked up. My knees were fucked up. But I did go to. I went to a friend of mine. He's like, "What are they going to compare X-rays and MRIs and stuff to?" He's like, "You already know you're all fucked up anyway."
Are you all fucked up from lifting?
No, I'm not that bad. I'm pretty much okay. I have.
So why wouldn't the MRI reveal damage?
Well, he was just saying like your knees are there's probably slight tears here and there, because I've had knee pain and all kinds of different things for years. So he was just saying like they're gonna tell you that you're fucked up. He's like, what are you gonna do about it?
Well, shoulders are a big one for guys who bench that much, right?
The shoulders, pecs. Yeah, people blow off their pec. That's how I invented the slingshot. Was I tore my pec 3 times. I injured myself
3 times.
Yeah.
So did you get it stitched back in?
No.
You didn't?
No, I don't like going to the doctor.
So you tore it and you just dealt with it?
Just dealt with it. Yeah, I never had like a rupture. I never tore it
all the way through.
Yeah, I never tore it all the way through to where it was like bleeding down to the bicep and all that nasty shit that can happen with a torn pec.
I did it with my tricep, and it's brutal.
Yeah, I've seen
the tricep
people
off the bone.
Seen a lot of people that get the bicep where it curls up like a golf ball. It looks crazy.
There's some fighters that like getting punched in the face. I kind of like pain, so for me, it's kind of just part of the territory with training.
Yeah, the pained guys, those are weird people. You're a weird person.
Yeah, no, I'm weird. Yeah. I don't mind it. Well,
the thing about soreness, it's like it lets you know, like, yeah, I fucking really got to work out.
There's a difference between soreness, though, and not being able to get up, out of bed in the morning and stuff like that. That stuff's, brutal.
Joint pain especially, right?
Yeah,
muscle pain and joint pain are 2 different animals. Yeah. Joint pain's rough.
Yeah.
Neck and back.
You get some little shit that for some reason you just can't handle. It's like the little tiny things that just gnaw away at you. You're like, motherfucker, why does my elbow hurt so bad?
Goddamn hangnails.
Just from
it's the littlest thing. It drives me crazy.
Lifting in general, like pretty much everybody we know has some sort of injury.
Yeah,
everybody's hurt somewhere.
Or you're not working out hard. It's
right.
One of 2 things.
Well, people look at certain forms of exercise, like CrossFit, say, and they go, "Oh, everybody gets hurt in that." I'm like, everybody gets hurt in powerlifting. Everybody I know that's a bodybuilder gets hurt. Like everybody gets hurt.
Oh, you take anything to extreme, you get fucked
doing
up.
this, and that's what we talked about. We were talking about on the way up here, is just slowing down in your workouts, just taking time to actually think about what you're doing. All
There's
the time.
1,036 pounds and 1,000.
Oh yeah, this is I actually make this one. But see the sundress?
Why does it say tumble? Oh, that's the tumble.
There we go.
That's the girl in the sundress. She fucked you up. Yep. Look at that.
Look how big his face is.
Yeah, I'm about 320 pounds in this video, or 310 pounds.
Damn, dude. That's a wide ass stance too. You always squat that wide.
In a squat suit, I squat a little bit wider. It creates some tightness around the hips and kind of gives you some support through your hips.
That guy's pretty hot too.
Isn't the guy behind? Isn't that the trainer, UFC guy?
Oh yeah, that's Amadeo Novella, who is a trainer of some UFC fighters, Chad Mendez and Joseph Benavidez, and a bunch of other small dudes that can fuck people up.
Yeah, it's funny that they have a whole camp full of those dudes, isn't it? Is this you giving out? Oh
yeah.
Jesus, dude! God damn, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, and so like when it happened, when I fell, it wasn't. It didn't hurt that bad initially, but then as time wore on, it got worse and worse and worse. The swelling just started getting fucking crazy. I stayed at the competition, and I'm a coach for all the athletes that are in that video, basically, and I stayed the whole time and helped everybody, and just like I would normally do. And then the next day when I woke up, I couldn't, or by the time I got home, even I couldn't even get upstairs to go to bed. I just fucking sat on the couch or sat on the chair and just slept in the chair for the night and slept right there for the next like 2 or 3 days.
You know, one of the interesting aspects of your film was Louis Simmons.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, Greg, I have one of his reverse hypers in the back.
Things are awesome.
Oh, it's an incredible machine for decompressing your lower back and pumping blood into it and everything. Oh, the thing's amazing. But he's a refreshing character, too.
Yeah.
You know, who's funny when, you know, you were saying that you were going to get off steroids. He's like, he'll be back.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
Of course.
Yeah, but that's the attitude that all those guys have. It's like, look, you just have to accept the fact that you are now a steroid dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, making a good documentary, I think it's a lot about casting. It's about who you pick. You know, it's just like any other movie, who you pick to be in the movie. And Louis Simmons was somebody that inspired me. To do things differently, to think differently, use chains and bands. I used to go into Gold's Gym, you know, 15, 20 years ago.
He's the pioneer of that, by the way, bands and chains and all that type of training.
Using chains on the bar to like accommodate resistance. So like the band will, you could tell them.
It gets harder as you get higher.
Yeah, as you go up.
Why is that good?
It's called accommodating resistance. It basically makes you drive into the bar faster. So if you can picture a bunch of chains on the bar, there's let's say 40 pounds of chains on the bar. As you lower those weights, there'll be less and less weight on the bar.
Right.
And as you go to pick it back up, there'll be more and more weight on the bar. So you have to actually physically move faster. A way that I try to explain it to people is if you were to try to hop up on this podcast table, you can't do it slowly. So when you train with bands and chains, it's a similar thing. You have to do it quickly. You have to try to get a lot of acceleration into it.
Well, that makes sense. So that would probably aid in explosive shit like football or punching people or something.
And then also a huge benefit of it is that the weight is lighter at the bottom. Same thing kind of happens with the slingshot, but with the weight being lighter at the bottom, it's creates a safer environment because the bottom of a squat and the bottom of a bench press are kind of somewhat dangerous positions to be in.
How much does a chain weigh normally?
They usually weigh about 20 pounds, the ones that we use.
Oh,
they're pretty goddamn thick.
Yeah, like big ass motorcycle chains from the 70s.
Like a boating type of thing.
The thing is, I would read a magazine called Powerlifting USA. We didn't have the internet.
Oh, I thought you were going to say inches.
Oh, yeah, inches too, yeah. Hey, don't tell them about that.
And foot action.
Yeah. So we used to look at that magazine. It was the only information on strength training in the entire world that a kid 15 years old growing up in Poughkeepsie, New York could get his hands on. So I would read that and I'd go to the gym and I'd try out all these weird things and people were like, what the fuck are you doing? And when I was a kid, I was squatting 500 for sets of 8 reps and people were like, what is this?
He squatted 675 pounds in high school. He was a fucking bull, man.
What the fuck are you on, right? And I'm like, I'm not on anything. I'm on Louis Simmons, And so when I started training Mark to just be, an animal, it was
he had a lifting belt that said "Roids suck."
Yeah, yep. I had a lifting belt. I wrote on
the director of Bigger, Stronger, Faster, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and it said "Roids suck," and I would go to the gym, and all these guys were like all juiced up, like Poughkeepsie, New York. It's like I don't know what it's in the water there, but everybody was on something, and I just always wanted to sort of deny that, go against that. Like, I'm not doing this. And that's why that was the whole genesis for that movie, was the fact that I always had this weird moral thing, you know, like against it. I can't do that. That's just fucking cheating.
Jamie, can you get some of those caveman, give me some of those nitro cans?
Those fuckers are good.
Yeah, bring a few of those
Are you
out.
trying to kill us?
No, this is the good shit, man.
No, I know.
We're out of regular coffee. What was it that pushed you over the edge and made you want to try steroids then? How old
Society.
Are you? Society.
You know, I went to USC and there's hot chicks everywhere, and
But you're a gorilla. You're fucking squatting 600
But
pounds.
I wasn't really in good shape. I didn't look good.
But all you had to do was like clean up your diet.
He's always had a kind of a conflict with his like build. He's always been trying to get in better shape, and so I think that steroids is a quicker and easier route in some cases to get a little bit better shape. You know?
I totally understand that, but I mean, it sounds like would you say you squat 675?
Yeah, when I was younger.
That's a lot of fucking weight. I mean, you had to be a big fucker to do that.
Yeah, I was a little bit fatter than I am now. You know, right now I weigh about 210. I was about 240 maybe. You know.
So it was just a matter of you just didn't like the way you looked.
Yeah, I didn't like the way I looked,
wasn't a
and
sport.
everybody else was in good shape. I was training at Gold's Venice. I'd be in Gold's Gym Venice, and like the Hulkster would be in there, and you know, Macho Man Randy Savage.
What you gonna do when a black guy dates your daughter?
Yeah, right. The Hulkster, yeah.
That was the depressing shit, wasn't it?
That's amazing.
You know what? He'll be back.
Throwing
Man.
an N-word rant.
He said some bad things. You know, he'll be. I think with wrestling, like it's the most inexcusable things have been excused, and I think that they'll figure out a way to.
Did they fire him from the WWE?
They erased him from their website completely, like as if he never existed.
You can't do that to the Hulkster.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
How rude.
Hey, he's still pinning the Iron Sheik.
yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Were
I
you?
saw it. No.
Oh, that'd be amazing if you were there.
Physically? No.
Yeah.
I've never been to one of those things.
Madison
No.
Square
You're
Garden.
not into wrestling, are you?
No, I'm not.
No,
No.
because it's fake.
We were just into
Yes.
all that shit. We were into
But
wrestling and fighting.
you were into martial arts since you were a little kid too,
Yeah.
right? So
I was into it in high school. In high school, I loved Jimmy Superfly Snuka
Yeah.
and Bob Backlund and all that
I wrestled
shit.
Jimmy
he
Snuka.
pinned.
Did you?
He
Yeah.
pinned. Listen to where your career goes in wrestling. He pinned Jimmy Superfly Snuka at an Indian casino
Where?
for like $50.
Yeah, in front of about 40 people. It's awesome.
Where was this?
Time of my life.
What part of
I don't know where the fuck I was. Where was I?
Somewhere in California, somewhere.
God damn.
One of those-
$50.
$50, yeah.
God damn. And what does
It was
Snuka
in a
look
circus
like these
tent.
days?
He looked like a transvestite. Really? Yeah.
Really?
He was hot.
Wow.
That
He
was
was-
Actually,
he was
Rowdy
fucking yoked.
Piper just passed away.
Yeah, he was- yeah,
that was
he was-
the nemesis.
Piper
They're actually
was
having
awesome.
next Monday at the Comedy Store. There's a tribute
Oh,
to
is it really?
Roddy Piper, and all the people that knew him are going to come in and talk about him.
I never got a chance to meet that guy. It always bummed me out.
He was great.
fucking
I heard he was
awesome.
awesome. That's all I heard. I heard he was such a great guy.
That's
Yeah,
what we
he's
loved
fired
about
up.
wrestling. Like, we just loved the personalities. We loved if UFC was around when we were like little kids, we probably went into that route. You know, our older brother was always beating somebody up. You know, and that's he went into pro wrestling because that's all existed at the time. But I know if MMA existed at the time, he would have went that way.
The thing when you did with Jimmy Snuka, like how old was he at the time? He's got to be in his 60s, right?
This was probably about 15 years ago.
Might have been in his 60s then.
But yeah, he was
Right?
definitely old, definitely out of shape. Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Was it weird? Did it feel weird?
Oh, it was fucking really weird. Yeah.
And the poor guy, like, what does he do for a
Pro
living
wrestling
now?
in general is weird. Like wrestling another dude in like tights and stuff.
It's
The whole
really
thing's
strange. I
yeah.
mean, like we used to run this small wrestling federation with a guy named Rick Bassman, who's a good friend of ours, and it was called UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling, and we put like 30 guys into WWE. So a lot of times, like these young guys had to work with the older guys. Like John Cena would be working with Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg the Hammer Valentine, like, hey kid, I'm not gonna bump for anyone. You know, bump means bump
Hit the
around
mat,
the ring.
basically.
Like, I'm never gonna hit the mat. You're just gonna beat the shit out of you. So it's like. That's part of that.
What does that
whole thing.
mean? Bump? What are you saying?
Just hit the mat, basically. Just like fall for the other guy. Meaning, like the older guys don't want to do any of the work. You're gonna work around them and make them look good, but they're not actually gonna do anything.
Oh, so they don't fall down anymore because they're all banged
They're too
up.
old.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
well, that makes sense.
You're like, fuck you, I'm not falling down.
Did Superfly have that kind of a conversation with
A
you?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah. What does it go down?
Well, he
How's it-
basically he just told me the different moves he wanted to do, and I was like, all right, well, it just sounds like I'm not really getting into too many moves.
Yeah, but
just tells you
what happened was he did the Superfly move, right?
Yeah.
And then you flipped him over and pinned him, so you
Right.
ended up winning.
Right.
He still does the Superfly at his age?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
He wanted me to like sit way up though, you know, like to catch him, and I
Right.
did, and it hurt like a motherfucker.
I'm sure.
Yeah, these old guys will stiff you.
You ever
Yeah.
have another man jump off the top rope on you?
No, I have not. Did you ever see the one where Brock Lesnar does the shooting star,
Holy
lands on his head?
shit,
Yeah, I was actually there.
And he's done that move like hundreds of times when he was younger in a different federation before he got to WWE.
I worked.
That really sucked.
I worked at that WrestleMania.
Yeah?
I was up in the skybox. I'm watching. I'm like, oh my god, he's
He's dead.
He's dead.
Meanwhile, he still completes the pin.
Yeah, he just messed up.
completes
He was
the
a
fucking
stiff
pin.
neck for a week or something. He was
Yeah.
he was messed up a little bit, but he wasn't that bad compared to what he should have been.
He's such a freak.
He's an
He
animal.
really is like one of the biggest
I think
freak
he said
athletes.
in an interview like there's like 2 years that he just doesn't remember.
Yeah,
Because of
prescription
that?
drugs.
No, because of drugs.
Oh, what,
Yeah, he
what was he
just-
on?
I'm not sure. Probably
Painkillers.
OxyContin. Like
Well,
a
those
lot
guys,
of
they do. That was the other thing that was in this
dudes. 2
article
years
about
just
Roddy
erased from his
Piper.
fucking mind.
There was an article about Roddy Piper where we were talking about the drugs that they do. Here it is right here.
Oh shit!
Look at this. Oh my God, dude. A normal person would be dead.
And he's 290
That's
right there doing a
WrestleMania
fucking
in,
backflip.
Seattle.
Look how jacked he is.
Yeah, he was giant. What were we just talking
You're
about?
talking about Piper. You heard an interview? I think?
Oh, they were talking about the amount of time that they spend on the road wrestling, and that like any other sport, you get like time
A break,
off.
yeah.
Like these guys are wrestling
There's no
300 nights a year, which is crazy. Like you can't recover. You just can't recover. So they all get hooked on pain pills.
I just did a movie called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. It's about Jake the Snake Roberts, who was a 80s wrestler, you know, and he was a crack addict. So another wrestler, Diamond Dallas Page, helps him get sober. We just showed that movie at Slam Dance. It'll be out pretty soon, but it really shows what these guys go through. You know, afterwards, it shows a documentary that's just like the movie The Wrestler. It's a real life
Darker.
version.
Darker,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fucking dark.
Well, Jake the
Snake's dark.
Snake, Dallas Diamond Page is doing wrestling or doing yoga now. He's like this big yoga
DDP
proponent.
yoga. Yep.
He's fucking crazy fit for an old dude.
He does
man.
Superman push-ups. You know,
Yeah.
on his fingertips, he's doing push-ups.
Takes his ankle and puts it up by his fucking face and shit.
I went to his house when we were doing the documentary. I was an executive producer on the documentary, which I do all the Hollywood stuff. I help get it sold, I help get it to festivals, all that kind of stuff. And I just really believed in it. And I believed in it from the beginning. I knew they were making it. And they asked me to get behind it really early. So when I went down to their house to work on the movie, he's like, yeah, I'm going to take you through this yoga thing. And I'm like, okay, what is this bullshit? Within 10 minutes, he had a heart rate monitor. And my heart rate was up to 155. And he's like, okay, we got to slow you down to keep you at like 145. So this is like this constant cardio, flexing, moving, awesome yoga thing that somebody like me needs for mobility. I think it's actually a really cool thing that he's doing.
Well, yoga is great for mobility. It's really hard to do. It's one of those things where you look at it, you're like, a bunch of fucking soccer moms.
Yeah.
But then you get in there, you're like, holy shit.
This is a little bit
fucking
more
hard.
digestible for someone like me because it's a lot based. He sort of bases it around
Wrestling.
Yeah, you do the diamond cutter, and then you flex like this, and you
Yeah.
hold it, and it's kind of fun, you know.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of, there's no namastes.
Yeah,
Now, you had double hip replacement?
yeah. Actually, right towards the end of doing Bigger, Stronger, Faster, when we were doing the movie, I was just worn down all the time. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I can barely walk. I just kept having all these problems with my hips, and went and got it checked out. And the doctor just said, "Okay, walk across the room." I walked across the room. He said, You need two new hips." And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need two new
Is
hips.
this a doctor that sells hips?
He was an orthopedic surgeon, you know. And
Jesus Christ. And what did the MRI reveal? I'm sure they did
basically
MRIs on you.
bone on bone, and my bone was completely smashed on both sides, so they were like smashed into the, into your hip
And he was in
socket.
a lot of pain all the time. He could only, like 3-4 hours at a time was what you could give to the film usually, and then you were just
From your
You
hips.
just shot. You got to sit down a lot, and you got to like.
And you said this is a genetic issue?
Yeah, my dad has the same thing. My dad has two fake hips now, but he didn't get them till way later. So what happened was, who knows if wearing down to the hips, squatting all that much, and whatever. I don't really blame it on powerlifting because I don't think that's really the cause, because there's a million powerlifters out there, and I'm the one with two fake hips. So it's not like oh, this happens to every powerlifter. You know, it doesn't.
Don't you think it must have some effect?
Yeah,
I think everything has an effect. You know, it's like
you played football, you wrestled, shit like that. I mean,
yeah,
been
but you know,
anything.
he doesn't have two fake hips, and he's the same genetics, you know, as me. So I got it from my dad. You know, my dad has the same.
Well, what do they classify it as?
What do they classify it as?
Yeah,
just osteoarthritis.
It's just so, but you only get it in your hips.
No, I have it in my ankles and my knees. Both my knees need to be replaced, but I'm just
Jesus
I'm just sort of like putting that off because, like you said, we have new therapies that.
You had your knees done when you were a kid too, right?
Yeah, when I was 17 years old, I had double knee surgery. So
what'd you have done?
I just had arthroscopic bone chips removed and stuff like that. Yeah, but you know the thing is, I've been in pain my whole life, you know, and there was a certain point when I got the hip surgery that I wasn't able to handle it anymore, and they started feeding me pills, you know, like crazy. And I got into that really hardcore because that was something that you know, at first you do it because it helps the pain, and then after a while you do it because it's fun.
So this is post Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
Yeah, right after Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
After Bigger, Stronger, Faster, you get your double hip replacements, and then you had the pill problem.
Yeah, you get hooked on drugs. It's like, you know, you never aspire to become a drug addict, but it happens. And a lot happened to a lot of my friends. It happened to a lot of people.
It's happened to a lot of people I know.
Do you think
a lot?
Do you think a little bit of that had to do with like the recovery because you had both of them done rather than just like one of them done at a time?
Yeah, I would always suggest to anybody that has to have double hip replacement surgery, get one done at a time because at least you have one side that's good and the other side that heals.
Yeah, you literally couldn't really move at all.
I was sort of like in a point in my life where I'm like, you know what, just do it. Who cares? Let's go. And and didn't really think it through that.
How old were you?
33 at the time.
And whew, Jesus Christ, double hip replacement at 33. And if you don't know what a double hip replacement means, they cut off the top of the bone, and they literally have this long screw that they drive into the meat of the bone where the marrow is, and it locks in place this new fake hip.
Right.
It's fucking gnarly shit.
Yeah.
My friend Graham Hancock had it done. He was here 6 weeks later. He wasn't even walking with a limp.
Wow.
I was like, this is crazy. You had a hip replacement?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had complications with mine. So on one of the sides, they had complications getting it in because they're like, oh, all this muscle from squatting, your ass is like a rock. So they had to pound it in with a hammer. It looked like I saw the part of the surgery back on camera. And it looked like an auto body shop. It looked like they were fixing a car.
Yeah, there's a video of Tito Ortiz getting his disc replaced in his neck. He either got his disc fused. I think he got I'm not sure if it was a spacer or a disc replaced. But they're fucking hammering on his neck, like clink, 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 clink.
I got to get it in there.
I'm like, what the fuck? That's his neck, man.
That is insane.
Ugh. So what does it feel like now?
Now, actually, the hips feel okay if I lift heavy. I'll still squat and deadlift. I just can't go as heavy as I used to. You know, I've deadlifted up to 550 with two fake hips. Which
Jesus Christ.
You know, not a very good deadlift in Mark's world, but, you know, for having the surgery and everything, it's okay. And they're fine. Like, it doesn't...
And they're built. Did you tell the doctor, like, give me some fucking serious heavy duty ones?
They're titanium
give me some off-road,
anyway.
some off-road shocks.
They're titanium, you know. And a lot of people say, well, why do you have to lift like that? Why do you know, like, you know, people always want to concern themselves what you're doing. They go like, why do you feel you have to lift like that? It's just something that's ingrained in you. You just like doing it. If you had surgery and somebody told you why you have to fight still, why you have to go, because you have to. Did
you ask the doctor for a bigger dick?
He couldn't give me that.
That's an option.
Oh.
Now, when they cut you open, where do they cut you?
Right on the side of your ass cheek, kind of.
Is it a giant scar?
It's like that big, like 3 or 4 inches.
Wow, that's amazing. You do all that work with 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
Like, I have a buddy who was on the U.S. ski team.
I know.
I have a buddy who was on the U.S. ski team, and he's had, no bullshit, I think 28 knee surgeries.
What? Wow.
Yeah, he's got, I'll show you the surface of his knees.
Skiing is not good for your knees.
No, he's had his knees resurfaced.
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
it's fucking gnarly. Let me find this picture real quick, and I'll show it to you, because it's one of those where I show people, and they go, what am I looking at? But anyway, his scars on his knee, it looks like you're gutting a fish.
Yeah.
Like they go all the way down the side of the knee, and they opened it up. And this was just in the 80s.
My dad has that. My dad has, you know, fake knees also, and he's got those big scars.
Fuck, man. Your dad's got it rough.
He's a warrior.
Frankenstein.
That's a lot of fucking surgery, a lot of shit to get done on your body.
Yeah.
Fake knees and fake hips. So you think that you're going to eventually have to do that too?
The knees?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to hold it off as long as possible, and I think that the best way to go is trying new therapies like stem cells, other things that are coming out. I know that there's actually a gel that they can put into your knee that replace cartilage. John Cena had it done. It's a very advanced technique that, they're just basically, they use very sparingly.
Well, I know that they're doing, they have this new meniscus surgery that they're doing where they are taking this, like a scaffolding, and they implant it inside where your meniscus used to be, and with these proteins in it. And somehow or another, your body grows meniscus in this scaffolding.
Seems to make sense.
It's nuts, man.
It's
The
crazy.
shit that they're able to do now is just amazing. Let me show you. This is my buddy's knee.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the same guy that was on the U.S. ski team.
Wow.
They cut him. Steve Graham, what's up, brother? They cut him,
Just
cut
looks
him
like
open like a fish.
It looks like steak and like 2 wedding rings.
Yeah.
That's fucking gnarly looking.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. I'll send this to you, Jamie, so you could put it up on the...
It looks great.
Yeah, injuries are no joke,
Yeah, no, they're no joke. Well, this guy, too, he's fucking crazy. He's in his 60s. He still spars
Oh, shit,
MMA
really?
on a regular basis. He's an animal. He's a doctor. He's an ophthalmologist. Doesn't give a fuck. He's always been crazy. He's just, I've known this guy for, he's the guy who talked me into doing stand-up. This guy's always been an animal. He's just, it's just hard to imagine that that's the inside of his legs.
Wow. Shit. I saw you do stand-up in Sacramento about 2 years ago, maybe.
Oh, where was it at?
Maybe 3 years ago. I don't know.
Are you
It's
asking him?
called like Comedy Store or some shit like that. I
Oh,
can't
that
remember.
cool little upstairs comedy club?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good spot. Yeah, the Punchline, right?
Yeah, there you go, Punchline,
Sacramento.
yep.
Do you live up there?
I do.
Sacramento?
Yeah, I'm in Sacramento.
Do you go to Team Alpha Male and watch those?
I'm friends with those guys. I haven't been over there a whole lot, but I see Uriah around, and I see those guys around a little bit here and there. And
He's got his own gym, huge gym.
Okay, give it a plug. What's the name of the gym?
the Super Training Gym, just in West Sacramento. But
It doesn't matter because it's free.
yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's free?
The gym is free. Yeah,
How's that work?
it doesn't.
Well, how do you have a free
It's not
gym?
the smartest business model. It's not my brightest idea.
What did
The gym is free. It's a way for me to give back to powerlifting. It's predominantly a powerlifting facility. And I think that if other people had the ability to make their gym free, they probably would do it. And so
Really?
I'm in a position to make it for free, so I did.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing, man. You never
It's-
hear that. You usually
it's
hear
fun.
the exact opposite.
Well, you know what? Everybody asks for him, hey, can you train me? Can you train me? He's like, I don't train people.
I even do seminars and stuff a lot for free. I just did one at Deuce's Gym in Venice. And then a lot of times I'll do some down in downtown LA at Barbo Brigade. But just if I'm in town somewhere, I'll email the owner of the gym and just say, hey, I'd love to come in and teach your people how to squat or deadlift. And they're like, okay, well, what does it cost? I'm like, it doesn't cost anything.
that's so
Just
crazy.
coming in to fucking do some work.
What makes you such a generous guy? That's you're.
I just kind of have a passion for inspiring people and not so much just instructing them, because I think that the main message is to get people moving, get people doing shit, rather than just saying, "Oh, here's how you
A
squat."
lot of this comes
You know,
from people that we looked up to. Louis Simmons, Pat Miletich has a free gym. I don't know if he still has it, but he had a free gym to help people do what you couldn't do when you were younger.
It's great for young folks. There's the fucking knee, and it's cool.
And you know what too is what ends up happening is people. I'll put up a post on Instagram. It could be of like me eating food or some shit, and somebody will say, "Oh, I got your slingshot. I got your wraps. I got your this. I got your that." So it's like people are giving back to me anyway. So it's just another way for me to give back to community. And for like you said, Reebok is a brand. My company is not. My company is me. And so the brand is growing, and sometimes people don't know that I'm associated with it, but 9 times out of 10 they do know I'm associated with it.
That's awesome, man. That's a beautiful way of looking at things. I love it.
And because of that, like, we were just actually at the Coffee Bean next door, and these two guys wanted to take a picture with him. They're like, they knew who, people know who he is.
Like I saw you on YouTube.
Yeah. And it's fun. His YouTube
Tons
channel.
of free videos, youtube.com/supertraining06. Thousands of free videos on there on how to squat, deadlift, bench, that kind of shit.
Nice. Now, your new documentary is Prescription Thugs.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is based on your experience in getting hooked on pain pills after you had your double hip replacement.
Yeah, sort of based on a lot of people's experience. You know, after Bigger, Stronger, Faster, our older brother passed away about 8 months after making that movie. And he had a really bad struggle with prescription drugs, mainly painkillers. And then it went to, you know, Oxycontin, when you could used to be able to crush it up and inject it and all that stuff like that. And he was getting into that kind of stuff. I don't know if he was injecting it, but he was definitely snorting it and different things like that.
Jeez.
And my parents,
he loved it all.
yeah, my parents found out about it, and they were obviously heartbroken, and helped him get clean for a while, and then then you go back to it and back and forth and back and forth, and it's just crazy because he, after he got off all the pills, sort of switched to alcohol, and it was like alcohol and a little bit of everything else, a lot of weed, a lot of alcohol, this and that, just things that that when you're not in the right state of mind or you're depressed are not the best things for you, And
well, that's what he seemed like from the documentary.
Yeah, he ended up going down like a really bad, just a bad spiral, and he was on some psych meds too for depression and different things like that. And he died in a sober living house with no real, explanation of how he died. And we still don't really know exactly what happened. There was really no drugs found in his system in a toxicology report and stuff like that. So it was just like, to me, something where, this is an epidemic that hit home with me. After I saw my brother die, I was like, I will never go down that path. And there I am on the floor scrambling, looking for like another Vicodin, going, I must have dropped one somewhere. And just knowing a lot of other people that went through it, I decided to pick up and make a movie about it.
Now, your brother in your Bigger, Stronger, Faster seemed like a very troubled guy.
Yeah, mad dog, yeah.
He struggled with himself more so than anything else. He was bipolar.
And so all this stuff sort of just compounded that. And
I think
did he get a prescription? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did he get a prescription for an injury, or how did he get?
Yeah, he was wrestling with WWE. He was sort of, on the doing the rounds. As
I don't know if he got a prescription, but he got drugs.
Yeah, and they all got drugs. Like,
so when did he start wrestling for the WWE?
Back in like 1990. Like early 90s, and he wrestled forever. Like he was always on TV.
1992 or so, 93, something like that.
Yeah, he was
maybe?
always on TV, and then he wrestled all the way through, kind of up until he died. Like he had still some matches, not really with WWE, but with other like smaller federations and stuff like that. So he kind of wrestled for a real long time, but he never really made it, and that was a really big problem for him. It wasn't good enough to be a good coach or a good teacher. He wanted to make it. He wanted to be a big superstar. I also
don't know if he knew exactly what he was chasing. So even if he obtained some of that success, I don't think he would have even recognized it.
Along the way,
really good point. It's a really good point.
I think a lot of people, it's hard to get satisfied with certain things, and so he was just he was troubled. He, the quote that's on the wall in my gym is from the film. It says, "I'd rather be dead than average," and that was something that he couldn't live without. Being whatever his ideal for success was.
And the problem, I think, that you really just nailed, though, is that they don't know what that is. What's that goal?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And if they don't ever reach it, they never feel satisfied.
And the thing is that despite all that, he's like the nicest, coolest guy in the world, and would have our backs, on everything.
Did he have good friends?
Yeah,
he's crazy emotional. He's really emotional.
Here's what everybody has, right? They have good friends, and then they get into drugs, and then they don't have good friends.
Right.
So you have a lot of enabling people, a lot of people that'll allow you to keep doing what you're doing, a lot of people that'll put up with your bullshit. My father wasn't one of them. My father was somebody who put his foot down and was helping him get clean, and we just weren't able to catch it in time, and so
people that are listening to this, I think it's really important to talk about these issues. It's just, people want to always kind of push these issues under the rug. So if you know someone who's struggling, try your best to reach out to them and just see if you can get to the bottom of the problem. I know it's the worst fucking thing in the world to try to approach somebody about it, but see if, whatever you think is a good way of going about doing it, and try to reach out to the person, because you don't know how much longer they'll be here for.
It's just so hard to get people to listen to you, though, isn't it?
It's brutal.
It is, yeah. But when you've been through it, it becomes different.
Right.
It completely becomes different. So I went through it. I ended up, it's kind of crazy, halfway through this film that I was making, relapsing, and started popping Xanax and all sorts of other stuff.
Halfway through the film on prescription drugs, you start relapsing.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
what
how,
the fuck, right?
That's
the
how
fuck did that
crazy.
happen? When did you do this film? How long ago?
We finished it. We finished it for Tribeca Film Festival, so that was like in May.
So you relapsed like a year ago.
A year and
sober.
5 months ago.
Fuck.
And
man.
I was popping Xanax and stuff like that because there's like filmmaking is not an easy business. Like if you didn't have all this other stuff going on, you were just a comic and you were trying to make it. It's brutal. The ups and downs, and I have an audition for something big.
Seeing other people be successful can really beat you down.
Seeing other
shit
people
like that.
fly by you that were like way behind you. All these different things that go on in your head.
So you feel like that about the documentary world? There's like people that were making some documentaries that would do really well, and you get bummed out.
I wouldn't really get bummed out so much about other people. I try to like always stay in my own lane and think about myself, but I get more bummed out putting the pressure on myself.
Right. Like so
nobody
you see
else
someone
is,
do real well, and you go, God damn it, why am I not doing really well?
I could have done that, or somebody makes a documentary and then they're like off to the races doing like all these big movies, and you're like, why didn't somebody pick me for that? Like my documentary did way better than that documentary. So those kind of things in your eyes. But just the film world in general, Hollywood in general, it gave me this feeling of inadequacy. It gave me a feeling like I wasn't good enough. Like everything I did, I wasn't making it. And people go, well, you did this hit movie. It was really big. And I'm like, yeah, but it didn't really make money at the box office. Like it did really.
Which is not your original intent. Like when he made the film, he said, I want a lot of people to see the movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
And tons of people see it.
Your language, when you say it gave you this feeling of inadequacy. But isn't that maybe the way you approached it yourself? I mean, it seems like it's not giving you anything, right?
Yeah, making it up in his own head. Yeah,
you make it up in your own head.
Yeah,
you feel inadequate. You feel like, oh man, and as many people tell you that you do good, you're still looking for, like you said, you're still searching for that thing. So for me, it was all about finding balance. So when I relapsed and realized I need help, I reached out. I didn't really reach out, but once I knew I needed help and everybody sort of figured me out, my girlfriend helped me a lot with it. She sort of found me really fucked up one day, drunk and on Xanax.
It was the middle of the night, and she called me. I don't really answer my phone a whole lot. I don't respond to it a ton. It rings a lot, and I get a lot of messages and shit, so I'm not really on my phone that much for that kind of stuff. But I noticed the number was odd, and it was probably like about midnight, so I was like, that just seems kind of weird. That's not like a telemarketer, like calling at like 7 p.m. or something. This is something different. And for whatever reason, I didn't have her number in my phone. But it was from like Pennsylvania or something, I think, where she's originally from. And it was Lauren, and she said, your brother is blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't understand what she was saying because she was very, very, very sad and crying and stuff. And so I asked her to kind of calm down and kind of assess the situation a little bit. She said, I think your brother's in his apartment. I think he's passed out. I said, well, you're the only one there. You got to kind of go in and see what's, she's like, I don't know how I'm going to find him, and I was kind of like, whoa, like, what do you mean you don't know how you're going to find him? Because I didn't know how bad the situation was or how serious it was. I did know his friend called me a few times, said, hey man, your brother's, he's fucking up with some pills and doing this and that here and there. And then, then I would communicate with that person again, and I'd find out that he's doing a little bit better, and then he'd be doing a little bit worse. So it kind of went back and forth, and having my other brother die from it, I was like, fuck, man, I don't even, I don't have the energy to fucking go down that road again. I want to reach out to him. I want to talk to him. I do love him. He's a hero and an idol to me in a lot of ways, and I really did want to reach out to him, but I just, didn't know how to fucking bring it up. But, he was really suffering, and I didn't really realize how bad it was until she called. And then I got off the phone with her. I just said, take his keys away, make sure he's okay. Talk to my wife. My wife's fucking awesome. She's super supportive about all this kind of stuff. And she said, we need to fly him here tomorrow, And I said, well, let's fly Lauren here to make sure he gets on the fucking flight, that he's not drinking or taking pills or doing something crazy and he misses his flight. So we flew both of them up. We were able to get him some treatment where he was able to work on starting to recover.
It's a nasty path,
Did you document this in the film?
I didn't document all the stuff that went down, like leading up to it, but yeah, it's in the film. We talk about it for sure. But like I said, it's a nasty path that it was like a snowball effect. You know what I mean? And looking at it now, it's like, I mean, it's not funny ever, but it's like laughable. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? I can see it now from a different point of view.
So you said you relapsed on Xanax. So was it just you were having anxiety?
No, I mean, you don't have anxiety. It's just whatever. You know, you just like to take it because it may, you can't sleep. My mind is always racing. There's always another idea in the head. And there's always, I can't go to sleep. You know, so I've tried the float chambers. I've tried stuff like that. I can't even get my mind to stop thinking a lot of times, or so I thought. So I always thought that I needed something, whether it was alcohol, whether it was pills. And I realized through the whole journey that all I really needed was to believe in myself again, to believe in who I really was and what I started doing when I started out trying to make films in the first place, and tell the truth and be honest. The problem was I couldn't be honest with myself. I had a real hard time being honest with myself, and that's what recovery has brought to me. It's amazing to be able.
I don't
to
know how much he's allowed to talk about the film, but I'll talk about it a little bit. He he basically interviewed somebody for the film that ended up helping him. He interviewed this guy Richard Tate, who owns a treatment center in Malibu, and he for his film he researched it, and they had like a 95% success rate with people that were there. I think for over 60 days or something like that. Correct?
90 days. Yeah.
90 days, and he was like, "What the fuck? 95% success rate? That's crazy."
The whole time I'm interviewing the guy, I'm like, I wish I could come here. I wish I could come here, because I knew that I still had a problem with alcohol. And I wasn't really doing Xanax at the time, but like
he researched it for himself. He's trying to tell himself he's researching it for the film, but he's researching it for himself.
It's a weird thing, man. You start like looking.
Did you go to this place?
Yeah, I ended up going to Cliffside, Malibu, for 90 days.
So what do they do that's so successful?
They just change your life about everything.
Well, Richard Tate was a wild man himself, and he came
here's the thing.
from that
So
background.
when you have a guy tell you, listen, 14 years ago, I was on my couch smoking crack with a hooker on each side. I was oiled up for some reason, smoking cigars, smoking crack, and
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and he said, and he tells you, that 8 of his friends come and knock on his door and try to get him sober, and he slams the door in his face, and then he's like, you know what, that was rude. He goes back and opens the door. He goes, what day is it? And they said it's, Friday. And he goes, come back on a Monday. And he slams the door. They come back on Monday. He was like at that point just done doing drugs and alcohol, and they took him to treatment. I'm like, man, if this guy can get better. Like I wasn't doing, you're saying I wasn't that bad, but
I didn't have hookers.
Yeah,
right.
At least I didn't have hookers.
What did they do for you specifically? Like what is the process of getting someone to get 95% of people staying clean?
First part is separation from the problem, just being away from drugs and alcohol. I think like AA is a great thing, but for me, if I would have went to an AA meeting, I would have went home and drank that night. I needed to be in a place where I couldn't get drugs or alcohol. I needed to be isolated from it for like a little while to get away from it. The main thing was therapy. It's all therapeutic. It's all like group therapy. You go sit in a group with people that are fucked up, and you talk about your problems. And in a good facility, they had such good counselors there that these people, like it was more about like being loved again, feeling part of your. I moved to LA. And I was on my own. I moved to LA when I was 19 years old from New York. My whole family was back east. My brother moved out here eventually. My older brother moved out here eventually. And eventually my parents moved out here.
And we do have a close family, too. We
have a really close family. So to be away from your family and this whole time and not feel like any love from the world is a tough thing. Like a lot of people don't really express that. It might sound kind of wimpy or something like that, but it's true. There was no feeling of comfort or safety or security in anything that I did. So like regaining that through being around people with like-minded experiences, and there's just some counselors there that will break you. There's people that go there, hardcore heroin addicts that like will sit there in group therapy and not want to be analyzed. And these guys will break them down until they're, punching pillows and shit, saying, this is my father, and you fucking piece of shit, Like, that's how it goes. It's like, it's a really intense, therapeutic thing that allows you to see yourself in a different way. And it's a very humbling. The number one thing is the number one thing that I had on my side was a desperation to get better.
It was one of the fucked up parts of the film, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, was your dad saying that he knew that your older brother was going to die that way.
Mm-hmm.
And to go through that, and then to have your brother die that way, and then for you to get hooked on pills yourself, that had to been a helpless feeling. Like,
well, that's why I felt like I couldn't tell anybody. So I went to my parents and I was doing an interview with them, and I really wanted to tell them, but I was like, you know, I don't know if I can tell them. So early on in the movie, before I had relapsed, I said, hey, listen, I had a problem with this. My mom cries and she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, how am I supposed to tell you? You just lost a son. I'm going to tell you, like, I'm going to go, you know, next, or you're going to worry about me because I'm not there, you know.
What is, if you can try to describe, what is the feeling like when you want to take that shit? When you want to take a pain pill? Like, what is...
There's no feeling. It's not the addict's fault. Like, you might have, you know, friends or people that you know that, why don't they just wake up and stop drinking? Well, you can't. It's not your fault anymore. It's a pathway, a neurological pathway. You just talked about before Brock Lesnar. Somebody got a hold of him and built those punches and kicks into his system, right? It becomes ingrained and built in your system. It becomes a neurological pathway in your brain, and you tend to habituate the things that make you feel good. You know, so that's just something that an addict will do more so than other people.
But you're saying that like this is a very distinct black and white thing, that it's not the addict's fault, but the addict has to be sober first before they can get fucked up, right? So you're sober.
Sure.
So if you're sober, you have a conscious mind, you're aware of your actions, and you decide to take a pain pill. How is that not the addict's fault?
If you're already addicted, it's an automatic thing. Your body feels like it needs it.
Okay, but you weren't addicted, right?
Maybe because you never got actual treatment.
How do you get addicted in the first place?
No, but you weren't, because you were off of it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you had this mad need, like your bones were aching. You had to get that.
I think you switched to alcohol. I think is kind of the part that you're...
I switched to alcohol, like, instead of having pills. So I always had something.
So you get the double hip replacement surgery. So you did your documentary, Bigger, Stronger, Faster. It was 2008?
Yeah.
Right.
Was it? So right after that, 2009? Like, when are you talking about you're getting your hip replacement?
Yeah, 2009.
Okay, 6 years ago. And then how you get off the shit?
2007, I actually got it replaced. I got it done before we finished the movie.
Okay. Oh, you did?
2007.
Okay,
but then I didn't mention this. So then I had my hip. I said they had complications. They had to redo my hip.
Oh.
So 2 years later, they redid it in 2009. They redid my right hip. They completely took it out and put it back together.
Oh my God! They unscrew it.
Well, there was some messed up parts in there, you know.
But they have to unscrew that thing that digs into the bone.
I think they left that. I think that was fine. I think it's the other part that was messed up. And then a month after I had that hip surgery, my brother died.
Oh man!
You know, and it's like just tough. It's just you know, it's like you can power through that stuff if you have the tools. But I didn't have any tools to stay sober.
All right, let me ask you this. So you get the hip replacement surgery the first time, then you get hooked on pills, then you get off pills, but 2 years later, they want to reopen you up. Do you take pills again?
Yeah, I got back on pills.
For how long?
About another 2 years. And then what happened was, so then I went...
Two fucking years?
Yeah. So then I went back to try to get off the pills. Like, I knew I needed to get off the pills.
How long were you on them for the first time? The first time when you had the first problem?
I was on them for like a year, and then I got off of them.
For how long?
But I only got off them for a couple months, and I had the second surgery again. So it's a really up and down.
Just gotten off of them.
Yeah, it's a really up and down thing. So there's a drug called Suboxone, and Suboxone sort of mimics the way that a painkiller will feel in your body, but it doesn't have. Well, it doesn't get you high. It'll just basically make you not feel sick. So that's the biggest problem is withdrawals. You feel so bad. It's like the flu times 100. So the thing is that when you're coming off them and you want to get on Suboxone, so my insurance would cover all the pills. So there was $10 a pop, $10 for like 180 pills of Percocet or Vicodin or whatever the drug I was taking. When I wanted to get off of them, I had to consult with a doctor every month for $250, and I had to pay about $225 to $250 for the drug, and insurance doesn't cover any of that. They don't cover you getting better. They only cover you doing the dangerous drugs.
Wow.
So that's another brutal thing on top of it, and then Suboxone.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that's built into the system?
Yeah,
to make sure that they sell more drugs?
It's built into the system so that you don't...
That's a scary thought if that's true.
Yeah.
That they
all this stuff
actually
is built. I mean, like, if you look at it, it's like, like, yes, if you take painkillers, it's your fault for getting addicted, kind of. But if you actually look at the history of OxyContin, that drug was designed to hook people on what's basically very similar to heroin. You know, the drug company that made it, Purdue Pharmaceuticals, they lied. They made $8 billion on this drug, right? $8 billion. And then they had to pay a fine of $2 billion. So, like, look at the profit. It's still $6 billion. They call it the price of doing business. So they lied and said that you will not get addicted using this drug. Well, they got the whole country addicted to this drug. Those people should all be in prison. They got the whole country addicted to a drug that's made for, like, severe cancer patients, and that kind of stuff is just criminal. And people go like, oh, well, you should have known. It's like, most people don't know. That's why we're making a movie, to have awareness, for these things.
So this is really fresh for you. This is not something that you have overcome a long time ago. No,
I still go to meetings, and I still, stay up on it. I think every day you need to remind yourself that you can go back there.
So you're 100% sober now. You don't fuck with anything.
No, nothing.
So the feeling that you get, like when you have this relapse with Xanax, the feeling that you get, is it just you just feel helpless? Like, what do you feel, just pulled to it? Like, what's pulling you in?
Yeah, like for example, so Xanax was a drug that would help me. I would drink a lot, like I wasn't, because I was an addict. Well,
he'd kind of drink to the point where, it was compromising the next day type of thing, and then also you ended up in the hospital a couple times from drinking.
Yeah, I think
I ended up with some serious bouts of drinking, but it wasn't like
nobody really knows this, but I went to the urgent care or emergency room, I think 10 times within a matter of like 20 days.
What?
Yeah, because I go to urgent care and I go get Xanax because I had hangovers so bad because I would drink so much, and it was continuous, like every day. So for me, it became a labor. It became like every day I was like, this cat chasing its tail. Like I would never get better or feel better.
At first, you weren't drinking that often, though, right?
No. At first,
it was like every 3 days, or every 7 days.
We grew up, we talked about it, powerlifting and everything like that. We were sports guys. Like, we were never into drinking. We were never into drugs. Like, that wasn't something even on my radar when I did Bigger, Stronger, Faster. I would drink, here and there. But I should have known back then, because, like, when I did drink, it was like binge drinking. And that's when you know that you'll probably have a problem somewhere down the road. If you're the guy that drinks and you got the guy that drinks once a month, but you get completely hammered, you know that you might have a problem. I wasn't the guy that could ever put it down.
So what does it feel like to make a documentary about prescription drugs while you're hooked on prescription drugs?
Guilty. Yeah, really guilty the whole time. Like, I had raised the money to do it. I was moving forward with it. I had a bunch of people involved. So I'm like, who the fuck do I tell? You're in this weird situation where you're like, I'm a hypocrite, but I can't would I just stop doing this and pull the plug? And I have people working for me, people editing the film. My partner, Greg Young, was there since the very beginning. And he was, he knew what was going on, but he didn't know. What is he gonna do? Like, pull the plug on his own job? And like, he cared about me and wanted to help me, but he didn't know how to help me.
So how much of a part of the film does this become?
It's sort of towards the end. It's sort of like in the third act of the film. We sort of discuss it and go into it. We didn't go into a whole lot about recovery because the movie isn't really about that. But by the end of the movie, I'm okay and.
But it took you a whole quarter of a year. That's crazy. They take you away from society for a quarter. Very few people can afford to do that.
No, it's crazy, man. What happened was, if I feel this, I feel almost everybody, if they could unplug from their life for like 30 days, even like 10 days. Like, people go on vacation, they still bring their phone, they still have a lot of people around them that they know. Right. And it's just to be in that environment of solitude is just like an amazing feeling that
go dark.
Yeah, going dark. What happened to me was in the third. So you asked how they helped me, and I could tell you that I think part of it, huge part of it, they talk about like AA and all these other programs and everything. Everybody talks about a spiritual awakening. So like the third day that I was in rehab, I went and took a shower, and it was like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning or something. I couldn't sleep or anything, and I went in the shower and I just cried for like 3 hours. The fuck am I doing? I went to USC film school. I did all the right things. I trained, you know, my whole life. I did everything the right way, and I'm fucking blowing it. And that's what got to me. You know, it was myself that got to me. It wasn't anybody else, really, you know.
Another thing that happened to him in treatment was Cliffside, Malibu is beautiful. It's a multi-million-dollar facility. It's really nice. It's in fucking Malibu, California, which is beautiful. But I think once you were there for like 2 weeks, they took you away from there and threw you in some shithole, right?
Yeah, what happened was, so I was there for...
I personally think it's all part of the plan, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was there for 10 days. And after 10 days, I was being helped by the facility. They were funding it. They were helping me. So since they were helping me out because I was part of this movie and the guy just had compassion for me, Richard Tate, and wanted to see me get better.
The guy was suspicious that you had a problem when you came there the first time to interview him anyway, right?
Exactly. And so he said to me, we can't afford to keep you here anymore. It's $60,000 a month to go to that place.
Jesus Christ.
A lot of insurance covers it, you know, and different things like that, yeah.
Insurance covers that?
Yep. Depends on your insurance.
It's a double scam. So it's the fucking insurance covers that. They make a little...
it's all part of the system. It's all part of the system.
What do you need Suboxone? Oh, I don't have any money for that.
Yeah. Sorry, bro.
That's hard to come up with that money. Yeah. I don't have any money for that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, but they have the money for the treatment and everything. So anyway,
they throw you in this place that's not so good?
So what happened was I went to a place called Claire Foundation. It's in Santa Monica, and it's like very industrial. It's a government-run rehab facility. And I walked in there and saw this guy with no teeth, and he's like scratching his nuts, and he's like, "You're not gonna like it in here. The pillows are really tough," you know. And I walk in, and I'm like, "Where the fuck do you sleep in here?" And I'm looking, and there's all these bunk beds. I'm like, "Well, where's my room?" And they're like, "No, there is no room. It's one big room with 40 bunk beds and 40 grown men, and 39 of them just got out of jail, and you're the only one that's normal." Kind of. You know, it was sort of a facility like that, where it was just something out of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And when they put me in there, that was like, fuck this, man. This, you know, I know like a lot of addicts will say like, I'm not like that, or I'm not like this. This was something that was so far fetched from where I would ever find myself in my life, so far down, that I was like, fuck this, I'm getting out of here, and this is it. I'm never going to drink or do a drug again. And, you know, hopefully you can stick to that, you know. But I don't have any urges to anymore. But it was that facility that that really cemented it, you know, after...
So then that's only 10 days. So why did you...
I was in that facility for 19 days, and it was like...
But 10 days in.
10 days in,
so
and
10
then 19
days in Malibu,
days there.
19 days there.
And then when they had room for me back at Cliffside, and it ended up going back to Malibu and like living out the rest of it in Malibu. And what was really nice about that was I was still able to work. So I was going to treatment every day for 3 hours in the morning, and then I would drive to like LA, and I would work on the movie the rest of the time.
Wow.
It's pretty twisted, but it all worked out, you know.
So, but you pretty much feel like you were done after you went to that shithole, right?
Yeah.
But you just felt like you needed more treatment to cement it? Is like, what's the thought process?
Man, you know, like, it's hard to explain to people that haven't been through it. People have been through it. They know what it's like. But addiction's one of the most powerful forces in this universe. It's something that drives people every day to do bad shit, you know. And
you need continued support, right?
Yeah, you basically just need, basically like a lot of it's set off by trauma, like things that happened in your life. A lot of it's, but I didn't really have that like one main trauma that like set it off. People go, "Oh, well, your brother died." And like, well, it wasn't as traumatic as it sounds. Like, of course it's traumatic, but I was doing stuff before that. So what was before that? I don't even know. Maybe the hip surgery didn't seem to me. I think a big part of it for me was having the hip surgery took away something that I really loved, which was like lifting. You know, something that like if you couldn't fight anymore, you'd fucking hate it. You know, you'd be like bummed.
Yeah, you'd be grumpy.
Because it was a part of your everyday life, and now it's gone.
Yeah, and it might sound stupid, but it's something that you do, you know?
Right.
If I said, "Hey, Joe, you know what? No more fighting, bro. You're done."
So you just felt like just a giant loss. You just felt like something was missing from your life, and that's what led you to just start getting fucked up.
Yeah, fill it in with other stuff, you know?
Wow. And you didn't think about maybe like trying something healthy and trying to like engineer your life in some sort of a way, or you do something
Okay,
positive?
so when you take away working out, what's healthy?
Well, you couldn't do any working out?
Not a whole lot. Not like I used to. And now,
For how long?
I mean, just for like years, I just felt shitty. You know, I just didn't feel good.
Because of the hips?
Yeah.
I think he also felt lonely too. I mean, you know, he didn't have her until kind of more recently, and even though our family is in California, you know, I have 2 children, so our parents moved to this side. They were from New York originally. They moved to California, but we all live in Northern California. And when it came to like holidays and some different things, I mean, we'd call him and communicate with him a little bit here and there, but you know, he kind of just seemed like he didn't give a fuck about.
Are you still in upstate New York?
No, I live in LA.
You're here too.
Yeah,
he's in LA. Yeah. Yeah, so he was only in L.A. and we were in Sacramento, but it wasn't, you know, not that far. It's a 1-hour flight or whatever. But we'd communicate with him here and there, and just, you know, even like on his birthday or something, call him or whatever the case might be. And then he would come up to Sacramento, or I'd come down here, and we'd meet up with each other here or there. But we just didn't really realize how severe the situation was in terms of just his like mental health. You know, it's just like not a dude thing to do. Like, hey man, how you doing? And somebody doesn't just like pour out their fucking feelings. They're like, oh, I'm doing good. You know, and they just leave it at that, and you kind of move on to the next thing.
And I have people that are in my film that have relapsed, you know, since the film. You know, I have people that I have a guy who I had to get a release for the film. Like somehow somebody slipped up and didn't get a release for the film. And just like this is like 2 days ago, I have a guy who relapsed and he's all fucked up. We're trying to get a release of the film. We can't even get in touch with him. So I had to send somebody to his house, and then we find out that he's relapsed and he's a mess and he needs treatment too. So it's like this. It's a dangerous, powerful thing, and part of the whole program is helping other people, and I think it's beautiful. It's like the thing now is like, how do I help other people? How do I help? People will listen to this show and they will hit me up on Facebook and they'll say, listen man, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, what do I do? And the beauty is I don't have to do it for them. I can just lead them in the right direction and help guide them to treatment and be there for them.
The people that run these treatment centers must feel like they're like combating vampires or something. Like it's like everyone is just getting bitten and sick. It's like it's incredible.
Sick is a good way of putting it. You know, like when somebody has something like that, you kind of feel like they have cancer or something. And you don't know how to help them. I think a lot of people just think like, oh, I can help them. Like, hey, if we go like work out together, if we hang out together, if we go eat together, like that shit'll be fun and like take his mind off it. But it doesn't work that way.
As soon as you get back home, you turn back into.
Well, I think also
the vampire.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at it, people go, "Oh, it's not a sickness. It's your own fucking fault. It's your own personal." Take all that away. Well, what's going on? Someone's got some shit in their veins that they need to keep pumping into their body. It's like sick. It is like sick.
You know what? All those same people that say it's not a sickness and it's not like a lot of those people will fall into it too. You know, like so.
Well, that's what's fucked up about it. How many people fall into it? I've had a lot of friends get hooked on pills.
Chris Lieben's in my movie.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had some issues.
Yep. And he's had some issues recently. I just spoke to him a couple days ago, and he's on back on the Suboxone again. And it's hard to get off of that shit. Like, it's really hard to get off. And it's like Suboxone is a maintenance drug to keep him going back from doing the oxys. But it's just something that like he's going to have to battle and fight every day to get off.
What are the numbers? Like, how many people in this country are addicted to pain pills?
I think it's like 2-point-something million. Couple two.
Holy shit.
Fucking
yeah.
Well, and then just how many people are just on pills, period. I mean, I know some people, some of the, you know, obviously some of the pharmaceutical drugs can be beneficial.
You want a number?
Hold on, that's a real number?
You want a number?
2 million people are hooked on pain pills?
Yeah. Okay,
fucking people walking around like zombies.
Say you had an idea to help people.
Holy shit, I'm just freaking out. Give me a second here. I can't believe that's real. 2 million people are hooked on that shit?
Yeah.
That's like a national epidemic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's almost 1% of the population of the country.
So last year, I think...
What's the country? 300 million people?
I think so.
That's God damn it, 2 million fucking people. 3 million people is 1%. I mean,
I think it's in 2012, like
that's crazy.
254 million prescriptions were written for Vicodin.
Fuck.
So that's enough to medicate.
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that number again.
254 million prescriptions for Vicodin were written in like last year or the year before, and that's enough drugs. That's enough painkillers to medicate every male or every adult person in America for a month. So
what?
Yeah, 254 million. Here's another stat
hold on,
for you.
254 million prescriptions were filled. Is that the idea?
Yeah, for painkillers.
How does that even make sense? Is that in a whole year?
In a whole year, because people get several. You know,
so they get like 90 pills or 100 pills.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like once a month. You know, they
a lot
get
of times
30 pills.
with stuff like that, you only get like 10 at a time, though, too.
Yeah. Well, here's another stat for you.
So
If you wanted to do something about it, and you're a congressman, right? And you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do something about this epidemic. And then there's $445,000 sitting on your table. I can either take that money from lobbyists, because on average, that's how much money the lobbyist will take. On average, there's a certain number of people in Congress and a certain amount of money that's spent. So if you average it out, it comes out to like over $400,000 per congressman that they use for their campaigns and everything else. So you can either take that money and just say, you know what, everything's cool, you know, or you can take that money and try to fight them and risk losing that money out of your campaign. So all these special interests and all these different things that people talk about all the time, pharmaceuticals is one of the biggest ones. They're one of the biggest contributors to these campaigns. So people don't really have a vested interest to stop it.
They have no interest, right? I mean, that's an
and
epidemic.
if they were trying to fight it, if they fought it with that little amount of money, it wouldn't even fucking work.
Yeah, well, what amount of money would be effective?
Yeah,
it
billions.
seems like it's so intense. What's really fucked up is this shit didn't even exist 50 years ago.
Right.
That's what's really fucked up.
It didn't really exist, 20 years ago.
Well, how nuts is that?
Well,
that's something so... Well, 20 years ago, they did have Quaaludes.
Yeah, different things.
Right.
That's the big Bill Cosby drug, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that his thing, Quaaludes?
Right.
But are they as addictive?
They were a completely different thing from what I understand.
This is just a total new level of addictive properties, right?
Yeah, it's so if you look at okay, so you have drugs like morphine, right? Morphine and heroin are like really closely related. You can make one out of the other, right? But on the other side, they now make them synthetically. So this shit doesn't even require it's just chemical upon chemical upon chemical. It doesn't require any sort of base. You don't need opium to make it. You need opium to make morphine, but you don't need it to make OxyContin. So they figured out a way to make these things synthetically so that they can just you know.
I don't understand that. Well, how does that work?
I don't understand it either.
Like, where are they getting the raw properties?
Yeah,
they make it in a lab, but I don't know what the fuck they make it from. But like,
you can't make something out of nothing. Physically impossible, right?
That's why I always did understand. Like, everyone said, well, yeah, Afghanistan produces 90 whatever % of the world's opium and heroin.
Right. Yeah.
Well, but what about pills? If it's synthetic opium or synthetic heroin, what are they getting it from? Afghanistan? Is that what they're doing?
I don't know. They figured out special ways to make it out of other things that are like normal bases and change the chemical makeups of them somehow. I don't know exactly.
We're too
how it
stupid
works.
for this conversation, aren't we?
Yeah, they're called. So there's opiates. People goes, oh yeah, he's on opiates, but that's not really true unless he's on morphine. They're on opioids, which are synthetic.
Kind of like steroids.
Steroids, opioids. See all about oids.
All about the oids.
Hemorrhoids.
How strange, man, that we live in a world where 200 million prescriptions for super highly addictive pain pills get prescribed in a year.
And we're supposed to be like an educated country.
And you think that like that's an epidemic, and then you look
up.
at what we're prescribing to the kids. We're giving kids, speed.
Adderall.
We're giving Adderall, Ritalin, and that's 5 million prescriptions written for that for kids every year. Whoa, just keeps going up and up and up.
It seems so easy to get shit too.
I had a mom.
So easy.
I have a mom in my film, and she has a daughter that has ADHD, and so she brings her to the, psychiatrist or whatever, and they prescribe her ADHD pills, Adderall, and the mom starts taking it. And then the mom convinces the daughter she doesn't have ADHD and she shouldn't take it. So then the mom starts taking the other kids. There's 3 other kids. She took all her kids to the doctor and got like 4 prescriptions every month and was taking like tons of Adderall. She'd take like 10 a day.
I bet that bitch got a lot done.
Yeah. House is clean.
2010, every American adult every 4 hours for 1 month.
It says every prescription painkiller were prescribed to medicate every American adult for every 4 hours.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
You can't see that line.
Well, why don't you make it so I can see it?
It's here's sorry.
Oh, it's like invisible.
Oh,
it's like bad. There's the text of it.
Okay, in 2010, enough prescription painkillers were just prescribed to medicate every American adult every 4 hours for a month.
I wasn't lying.
Jesus Christ.
9 million people.
So
that's like
abusers,
three pills a day or something.
That's
right?
abusers. That's 2010. Now, has it gotten better or worse in 5 years?
Well,
but either way, that number's insane.
It's when I talked about Purdue Pharmaceuticals and OxyContin and how that invaded America and all that stuff like that. If you look at it, the government at some certain point, got fed up with it, and they said, "Listen, people are dying, right? So it's cool that you guys are selling all these drugs and everything. We'll take your lobby money, but people are dying. So you can't take this drug. You got to make a way that you can't take it and crush it up anymore and inject it or snort it or do other things with it recreationally. So now if you crush OxyContin, it turns into a gel. It turns into like a mush. So what they did...
That's insane.
What happened after they figured out how you couldn't crush it and snort it anymore? Once they did that, the sales dropped 80%.
Holy fuck!
So what does that tell you?
80%?
Just shows you anything is possible with money, though. How the fuck did they figure out a way that if you crush it up, it turns into a gel?
I don't know.
But the fuck does that even mean?
It's amazing that someone talked them into doing that,
right.
And then they dropped 80% of their profits, and they stuck with it.
Yeah.
They're probably fucking scrambling for studies to show that gel is less effective.
They find other.
We need to go back to the pills.
But here's the problem.
There's no other way.
Here's the problem with a study, right? So everybody wants to think that they read the studies and the studies are good and the studies are valid. And what happens is you need 2 studies that prove that your pill is more effective than a placebo. Not more effective than anything that's on the market, just more effective than a placebo to get your drug passed. So it costs a lot of money and a lot of money through the FDA and a lot of testing and all these things, but it's still not very hard to get a drug passed. They just passed one called Zihydro, and it's more powerful than OxyContin. So now there's another drug on the market that's more powerful.
Who are these fucking monsters?
How do we get some of that shit?
Yeah, who are these monsters that are making this stuff? Does anybody need something stronger than OxyContin? Is this some fucking rallying cry for stronger pain pills?
You talk about medical marijuana. I talked to a senator about medical marijuana. He's like, medical marijuana is not killing anybody. And I'm like, exactly.
Ever.
So is that something that's good or bad? And we look at it and go man, it's crazy what we could do with a plant compared to what's happening with what's happening with these pills. I don't know anybody. I know maybe 1 or 2 people that have ruined their life, with pot just because they're fucking lazy. But beyond the scope of that, it seems to be very helpful for so many people.
Yeah, my point of view has always been that if pot ruins your life just because pot got there first. It could have been cheeseburgers or scratch tickets or the fucking Jehovah's Witnesses, whoever gets to your house first.
Alcohol is the fucking worst. Alcohol's the devil if you indulge in it.
Yeah. Or, you don't have the gene for it or whatever it is, and it's not the worst. You just have a drink, and then you don't want to have a drink anymore.
Yeah.
I've never had the urge to drink. I like a drink every now and then, but I've never had the urge.
Yeah, he's the same way.
But I have friends who have it, and I see it. It hits them, and it's like a blanket goes over their eyelids. It's like they vanish. It's like they're not there anymore. Yeah. And then there's some new person's there.
And those are the people that are going to eventually have a problem if they don't already.
If they don't already. Yeah, I definitely have known a lot of alcoholics, and I know a lot of people, more than half a dozen people whose lives have been wrecked by pills.
Yeah.
They just, usually a back injury, something along those lines, and then they take something, and the next thing you know, they can't get off it.
It's very innocent. It's not something that's, but it turns somebody who can be a great person into somebody who lies, cheats, and steals, and that's what's wrong with it. The pills... Yeah, I always just used to think if I could just be on these forever, because I still have a lot of pain in my back and my hips, and not in the hips necessarily, but in the lower back because of the hips were messed up and because of my knees are messed up, and still have a lot of pain. But I know that what happens with the pain pills it's diminishing returns. After a while, I'll need for a while I had to take 12 Percocets a day.
What?
Just to maintain the pain, the pain level that I used to.
How many hours do you awake?
Yeah, what's the other thing keeps you awake all day?
Percocets keep you awake?
Yeah.
Really?
Some people go to sleep and some people stay awake all day. I would stay awake all day, but after a while I got up to taking 20, right? And I thought
20 a day.
Okay, so I thought that was bad.
It's a PR.
It's a PR. My friend in the movie, I said to him, he was in WWE, he's a wrestler, Luther Reigns. I said, how many were you taking a day? He goes, 90. And he would say I'd get up in the morning, my girlfriend would lay him out all out. It'd be like, 10 Vicodin, 10 Soma. So he was taking muscle relaxers, painkillers. He said, I even take Viagra and Cialis every morning with my vitamins. I'm like, what do you take that for? He said, just to be ready. Is this because...
He sounds like an asshole.
Well, we're in like...
He's the coolest fucking guy ever.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing.
Just to be ready.
He's got some great stories.
But I'm saying...
pilled up with a giant hard dick.
Yeah. So he tells me...
A vampire with a boner.
At the time, he lived in Phoenix. And in Phoenix, they have cameras, on the freeway. And he was on, Soma makes you go to sleep. It's a muscle relaxer. It makes you go to sleep. So he said he gets a ticket in the mail. He's like, what the fuck is this ticket? I never got a ticket.
Driving asleep?
He opens up the ticket, and there's a plain as day. He's fucking passed out.
Speeding.
And he's driving in his Corvette going, 95 and a 65.
Asleep.
He got the ticket. He's like,
Jesus fucking Christ.
I wonder if you get a ticket for being asleep, too.
God.
I don't think
what's going on with him now?
He had a massive, massive stroke. He had a cardiac arrhythmia. I don't know what you call that. He had something wrong with his heart to begin with. All the pills and sort of living the tough life because he did a lot of illegal drugs too. He had a stroke.
Illegal drugs.
He did
like
illegal.
What?
He did like coke and everything
Prescription
else
and,
on top of it, right? So, but what happens is like he was getting them on the black market. He said he used to get them 1,000 at a time. Big bottles. Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He told me he was selling. He had a customer that was buying him at $28,000 like a week. So he had to get massive amounts. So he was like dealing them and
goddamn
$28,000 worth of pills.
You need a fucking forklift for that.
Selling
shit.
them to guys in the NFL. Selling them to the Phoenix Cardinals.
God, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Rush Limbaugh taking like 90 a day?
Yeah, I think
He
so.
was
Yeah.
taking a lot.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so my friend Luther Reigns, he ended up he had a massive stroke, and now he's actually somehow. So when you have withdrawals from painkillers, it feels like you're going to die. And so when he had this stroke, they said get his mother here. He's not going to make it through this, and we can't pump him full of enough drugs for him to get through this. He's probably not going to make it. Somehow, miraculously, the part of the brain that is his like 30% of his brain got killed during the stroke. Part of the brain that got killed was the part that was responsible for feeling withdrawals. So somehow he fucking dodged a bullet. We call him the bulletproof bad boy.
Oh my
Somehow he
God.
dodged a bullet. He's alive.
He has no more hangovers.
He's completely sober, and he goes around and talks to kids and churches and things like that. So he's doing great work, now.
So he lost 30% of his brain.
Yeah, but somehow he's still cognitive. He's still, he's still there. He's jacked. I mean, he's still.
So he's on steroids.
Yeah.
So Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't know.
He's off,
maybe.
Oh, duh.
He might be.
He's got to be on something. Yeah.
So he's off the pain pills, on steroids, and helping out kids.
Yeah, there you go.
What the fuck kind of a world we live in?
I love that one day we were eating with him. We were grabbing a burger or something. And he's got this fanny pack on. He's like pulling stuff out. He's trying to find his like money. He's like, I'll pay for it, bro. And he's like moving in slow motion. He's fucking drooling. I'm like, this guy's amazing. What is going on with this guy? He's putting all these like different bottles of pills like on the table. He's got like Viagra and a bunch of other shit. And
He carries a bottle with him?
yeah, and then he put like
In his fanny pack.
yeah, well, there's bottles, the many bottles, and then he puts down like a little bag, like a clear bag of something, and he's like, he looks at it, and he grabs his money clip, and he puts his money on the table, and he looks at the clear bag, he's like, whoops, and he puts that back, whatever the fuck that was. That was like, that wasn't okay for him to put on the table. Everything else was fine for some reason. He's like, whoops. It's a big old stack of cash.
That's so crazy.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God.
I was like, dude, what if you get like your pills mixed up? Like you're just running a ton of fucking Viagra and shit. Like, what are you doing? Maybe when he was passed out in the car, maybe he was driving with his dick.
yeah, maybe his dick
It's
was
amazing.
so hard there was no blood in his brain.
It's amazing now though, because he was dating a porn star for a long time, and like so now
He
he's like
brought
a born
porn stars to your fucking movie premiere. It was amazing.
Yeah. Bigger, Stronger, Faster. He brought 2 porn
There's
stars.
2 chicks making out right behind my parents. I was like the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
What a good guy.
Oh, he's awesome. He's a lot of fun.
So then he'll be going. Now that he's a born again Christian, he'll be like telling me, look, bro. Now that you're sober, now you need God. And he'll be like, look at this chick's tits that just text me. It's like, he's such a walking contradiction. He's hilarious. You know?
So, what, if anything, can be done about this crazy prescription drug crisis? Because it seems like when you're talking about millions of people that are on it, what was the number? 8 million people abuse it every year. 8 million people. What is that? Is that like 3% of the population of the country, somewhere around there?
That's pretty big.
What's the country?
Listen,
300 million people, right? So 9 would be 3%, right? Jesus Christ! 8.76 million in 2010. So what is it in?
I wonder what percentage of people are adults.
Yeah, it might literally be 3% of the population of the whole country is fucked up on prescription pain pills.
Well, here's the deal too. Like we only represent 5% of the entire world's population. We consume 75 to 85% of the world's prescription drugs. That's a lot of drugs.
Well, that's because we're America and we do it big.
Yeah.
Everything we do.
America.
Yeah. So if you want to see like what can be done about it. First of all, like, just ban advertising on TV for drugs, because that just creates an environment where people go into the doctor and tell them what they have.
Right.
A doctor is a fucking doctor. A doctor went to school. All you did was watch a commercial, you know, that's advertised. Do you have toenail fungus? Or, you know, all these stupid things. So that creates a drug culture, an idea that there's a pill for everything. And I think that idea is an idea that needs to just go away. You know, there is a pill for everything, but let's not think that way.
Are you tired? Are you sad?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's talking about me.
Well,
and that's one thing, but I think also just like education is the most important thing that we can have for anything, whether it's steroids, whether it's prescription drugs.
Yeah, but you say that, but yeah, you were educated. You knew all the pitfalls. You had a brother who died of it. You had been hooked on it yourself. You've been doing a documentary about all the different components of addiction, of selling these pills, and yet you still got sucked into the web.
Yeah, exactly. That's how powerful it is. So
that's so crazy, because you are about as educated about it as a person can be.
I think now I am.
But back then, when you were making the documentary, don't you think you were way more educated than the average person?
I was way more educated. I was already susceptible to it. I'd already been in. You know what I mean? So that's a tough thing. It's like if you can get somebody before they ever experience it. That's
Are
definitely
there other warning signs maybe before you get to that point of like reaching for a pill?
What do you mean other warning signs?
Like something that happens before you actually start to take pills or do drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always sort of gateways, like drinking and other things that make it.
Right.
Mark, what is it like for you to have two brothers that have these pulls, but you don't?
My family's fucked up.
But you obviously like steroids, but
I love them. Yeah, they're great.
But you don't have like this self-destructive thing going on. Like, you seem like a real generous guy.
Right.
I mean, you are a real generous guy. Just the fact that you have this free gym and you do these free seminars, and I saw in the documentary that you really love working with kids and helping them out. Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think seeing my older brother, he just like his life was really hard, and he had to like evade stuff and lie and like go through all these crazy things all the time
because of the pills.
Yeah, because of the pills, and it also put a lot of heartache and stuff on a lot of other people. So it sort of made me go the other direction. You know, like sometimes people have a parent that's an alcoholic or a parent that abuses them, and it makes that person go the complete opposite way. And then other times you have someone who has a parent that's an alcoholic, and they end up becoming the same thing. I think for me, it just made me steer clear of that. I just remember like seeing my brother like hide alcohol like in bushes and shit like that from my parents and lie to my parents. And my parents are about as awesome a parents as you can have. So I was always just like, man, it just seems like a lot of like extra work to go through. Even if you told them that you were having a drink, they probably wouldn't care. Not like they would be like, hey, go for it, man. They're not going to be like your buddy and have a drink with you. But at the same time, I don't think our parents would really care, especially if they were like in the house. They'd probably be like, fuck it, man, I'd rather have you doing it here safe, and I know you're not driving and causing a lot of other problems. So I just saw like a lot of baggage that came with all that shit.
And you didn't see that?
I saw it. Yeah. I completely saw it. Like I said, getting I think the hip replacement thing and getting hooked on pills in a way that seemed to me to be organic. You know, it wasn't like my brother started taking pills because he got hurt in wrestling, and then but did he really, you know, it's like, I don't know if he ever got a prescription for it. They were just passed around. They were passed around so much in wrestling that it was such a huge problem. So for me, I was like, well, I'm taking them legitimately, and then it just was a snowball
Legitimately,
effect.
because the doctor tells you it's okay.
Yeah, it was a real snowball effect.
What about you
I
when you got
also,
hurt from the squat? When you fucked up your ankle and your knee when you dropped that weight? Did you get anything?
I'd take a little bit of stuff, just because it was just unreasonable not to. Like, I just physically could not get up off the couch.
You were just in agony.
And then just talked to one of my buddies at the gym. I'm like, dude, like, I was like, I need some stuff so I can fucking move around.
So you're just getting it from the gym.
I'm in a lot of that's where everything comes from.
That's so crazy. You guys don't ever go to doctors.
Well, I gotta say, like, when I talk about the hip surgery, I mean, it felt like my right side that they botched. For 2 years, it felt like it was on fire. You know, so I mean, if you're on
Intense
fire,
pain. Right.
you got to put that out, right?
Yeah.
So and then by the time you're ready to get off of it, you're just so addicted.
Right.
I also told my friend though too. I was like, dude, like, I'm gonna come back to you for more.
Don't give me any.
Don't give me any more. So give me like an amount that you think is like reasonable. Because my friend,
So what did you take?
I don't even know. I don't even remember exactly what it was. Yeah, whatever it was, it worked pretty good though.
You just don't know. You just
Yeah.
say, take 2 or how many did you take? Whatever.
Yeah. Just take some for a few.
Oh my God.
I also what also steered me clear of a lot of stuff. At least as I got a little bit older, is I met my wife. Like, you know, we've been married for almost 15 years now, and been together for about 17 years. And I have children, and I got a lot of responsibility. So like, even if I wanted to get fucked up, like I don't have time. I don't have time to like go do it really.
Right. And
I got a lot of obligations.
Your brother didn't have any kids.
No,
No,
he was
and
married. He didn't
he was
have any
married,
kids.
You don't have any kids?
No kids.
Yeah. Wonder if that's it. Wonder if it's the responsibility of having children just keeps you from
Yeah,
being
just having
indulgent.
somebody else in my life that cares about me, somebody else that's supportive, and you know, she's as much as part of the company's success as I am. So all that definitely plays into it.
That's such the scary number of the 8.76 million people that are abusing it, and that being 2010
Yeah.
and not knowing what it is in 2015. That's terrifying to me.
That's
the
crazy.
idea that we could be in that state, and it's sort of like something that flies under the radar for the most part, unless you know somebody, and then you think of that person as an isolated incident.
Yeah, you think that person's crazy, or that person's doing it, like you said, doing it to themselves. And you know, like there is definitely personal responsibility in all of this, whatever it is. But at a certain point, when things are so addictive that people don't really know about it, or the doctors are just, you know, handing them out like crazy. You know, there were, for a while, a couple years ago, and they shut these all down, there were pill mills. So you just, they called them pill mills. People would come from West Virginia, drive all the way down to Florida just to get pills, you know. So my friend that we were talking about before, Luther, he just said he'd have 7 prescriptions, and he's like, my whole day would be driving around to different pharmacies picking up different prescriptions. Now they have this drug database that if you get a prescription from Walgreens, you can't go to Costco and get that prescription. However, nobody really uses it. So we have to that's another way to get.
Nobody uses it.
Yeah, like they have. And plus, you know, the DEA regulates how many of these drugs are made, and there's way more drugs made than are actually needed. So a lot of those fall off the truck, and you know, different things happen where they're
Really?
obtained. Yeah.
So
This is a massive
built into the system.
This is a massive money-making system, and everybody's on the take.
What the fuck?
A lot of money to be made.
And it's killing people like vampires.
Yeah, but we have a war on drugs.
Are there really vampires?
That's a vampire to me.
That's why I
It's
say
a
in the movie.
vampire
I
of your
say
soul.
in the film, is there really a war on drugs? Like,
Yeah.
no.
There's a war on some drugs. That's
Yeah.
what there's always been.
Right.
Yeah. While we had Nancy Reagan, you know, up there saying, you know, just say no. Her husband's lifting the bans on big business that allowed the pharmaceutical companies to grow so big.
Wow. So this documentary, the newest one, what takes place in it that you found was shocking? Like what out of this, going through this journey of putting together this documentary, was there anything that shocked you?
Yeah, a lot of the numbers, but also I interviewed this woman, Gwen Olson. Gwen Olson used to be a pharmaceutical sales rep that quit when her daughter killed herself on psych meds. And it's her story's just insane, and just meeting somebody who actually worked through the system to know that that people in the pharmaceutical companies get pumped up when they have a new drug coming out that can actually fix the side effects of another drug they already have on the market, and they're so excited because they know how much money they're going to make off of this. It's just like sickening. The whole thing is disgusting and sickening, and it's not about health. And that's what I really learned.
Her story is terrifying. That's fucking crazy.
How does that ever get stopped? How does such a machine that's making so many billions of dollars, how do you stop it, and how do you level it out?
You know, I think people that stop taking money from pharmaceutical companies, that's a big thing. You know, we have Donald Trump running, and half the people are like, oh, God, Donald Trump. But, you know, that's something that's not going to play into his decision making. You know, so if people like that, I'm not saying him specifically, but people like that to say, you know what, I'm not going to take their money. I don't care what they say. I'm not going to take, you know, it's the same thing with oil or any of these other problems. Like the way we fix problems is not to bribe congressmen. You know, I think that's a huge thing. And a huge thing is for regular, average, everyday citizens is to say no to what's going on and stop and, you know, write to their congressman and make a stink. If all this stuff, like, people wanted medical marijuana. Medical marijuana didn't come about because some congressman said, you know what, I'm going to make this legal.
It took a long time.
It took a long time. It took a massive movement of a massive amount of people to say, we want this. And, you know, if you look at food, for example, everything's sort of going organic. It's easier to find, as hard as it is sometimes to find good food, it's also a lot easier than it used to be. So that's like Costco. Costco's like all going organic now because people want it. So if people want, you know, a drug-free society, a society where their kids aren't dying and killing each other over drugs, a society where people can live in peace and harmony and not have their families ruined by these problems, they can basically start that front, you know, just like they did with all these other things. It's a groundswell, you know, it's like something that has to start.
I just don't know how you would ever stop that amount of money.
Yeah.
It seems like the amount of money is so fucking terrifying, and that these companies can just live with themselves. It's so bizarre that they can justify the production of these fucking pills when they know that 9 million people, or whatever the number is, are abusing them just in this country alone.
A massive amount of the drugs on the market, pharmaceuticals, you know, they don't even work. You know, they have been proven, they're not proven effective. The psych meds that we put our kids on were never tested on kids. So if it's not tested on a kid, don't give it to my kid. That's what people need to start saying. But people say, you know what? It's easier for me I put my kid on. Everybody wants to make the exception. Every parent I talk to says, yeah, but my kid's different because I put him on Adderall and now he's fine, rather than to search out all the other options.
I think people want to try to solve stuff with money or with a pill rather than with their time. You know, that's a big issue. If your child has, you know, trouble in school, maybe your kid just has trouble in school. I fucking sucked in school. It doesn't really, each person's going to have their own different thing they're going to be good and bad at. You don't necessarily need a pill to try to solve that problem all the time.
Yeah, and school is fucking gross.
Yeah.
The idea of sitting in a classroom, especially with some fucking teacher that's unmotivated, and you sit there and you're just supposed to absorb
for just
these
fucking
numbers.
Hours on end.
There's a
day
lot
after
of
day.
people that's just, they're not designed for that. Yet they would thrive doing something in life.
Right.
They just have to figure out what that something is.
Right.
They can absolutely contribute and just not care about geometry or not care about history or not care about whatever it is that's uninspired. Sometimes it's the teacher. Some teachers get you excited about anything. You know, they're like fun to be around.
Yeah, creativity is more important than knowledge. That's like Albert Einstein, right? And that's like with him. You know, he was always had trouble in school, learning disabled, diagnosed with all these learning disables, put in a class with the kids that eat glue and all that stuff. Like the typical case of that. You know, and he's become, you know, very successful off of passion.
Yeah, if you just find what it is you're really good at. I mean, there's just people have different personalities and there's different occupations. You just got to figure out what works for you. But all that aside, it's just the sheer numbers of the drugs is what's freaking me out in this conversation. It almost seems like some crazy plague that no one's talking about.
Yeah,
like a disease is just spreading across the country, and we're all kind of silent about it until it's too late, and there's no vaccine. There's just nothing to fix it.
That's why he was so excited to come on the show. you know, to be able to talk about it and get more information out there. And then when does your film come out too?
My film will come out in the fall. It's not, we haven't announced a release date yet, but Samuel Goldwyn's the one that's putting it out, Samuel Goldwyn Company. So it'll get a theatrical release and it'll get, you know, a big digital release. So we're excited about that.
Well, let me know when that happens, and I'd be happy to tweet about it and let everybody
Absolutely.
know about it and put it up on Facebook and what have you.
Yeah,
It's just-
absolutely.
Whew, God damn. So do you do these yourself? Is this like your own project? Do you storyboard them out?
Yeah, it's a little crazy. So I did Bigger, Stronger. You know, I went to USC Film School and I was trying to make films for years. And we all struggle trying to, like, you know, make it, you know, in these different endeavors, whether it be acting or filmmaking or anything. So I was struggling for years, writing a bunch of scripts, getting really close. You know how it is. You know, you're really close to getting something made. And, you know, finally, after a while, like, nothing was happening. And I said, if anything in life is going to happen for me, I need to make it happen. I can't be sitting here waiting for somebody to go, you know what, I really like your script, I'm going to make it, or blah, 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 blah. So long story short, Bigger, Stronger, Faster was the brainchild of me and my partners, Alex Buono and Tamsin Buono. They were a couple that, you know, had experience with documentaries and stuff like that. And just through conversations with them, we're like, fuck it, let's go make this on our own. So we raised all the money, we went out and we made it on our own. The second film I did was called Trophy Kids. I did that with Peter Berg, was the executive producer of that. And that was a film that, because of Bigger, Stronger, Faster, Pete's like, hey, I want to work with you. So we did a movie about crazy sports parents that ended up on HBO. And that'll actually be available on demand November 17th. It'll be coming out on demand everywhere. But if you have HBO Go, you can watch Trophy Kids. It's called Trophy Kids. The extended version is the one we actually did. Pete Berg used it as a part of his show called State of Play. So that, you know, it ended up serving like two purposes. We got distribution for a movie we thought was really cool, and he got a pilot for his TV show.
So that's available on HBO Go now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Trophy Kids is basically it's so fucking weird. We just came here and we have this tennis mom that's in Trophy Kids, and she's like this really like godly, you know, Jesus freak. And we just saw her like at the restaurant. We just ate at before when we came here. I haven't seen her in like 2 years since we did the movie. But yeah, that film's really interesting because parents nowadays are really putting the pressure on their kids to succeed.
Well, I think they always have, but now there's so much money involved in sports.
It's getting
look
scarier.
At kids like investments.
Oh, and the kids aren't any good. You know, bottom line is, like, if a kid's good, they're going to make it. You know what I mean? No amount of investing in their quarterback skills is going to, you know, it'll help some kids get maybe over that hump, but
they're not going to beat John Jones.
Yeah, in reality, John Jones is going to be John Jones coming out of the womb, you know, killing you. You know, that's...
Yeah, it's the thing about the Trophy Kids, or the thing about parents that are really into that, that's always disturbing, is it seems like they're trying to live their lives, their failures, through the kid.
Yeah.
Like they want to sort of reimagine their own life and have some success through the kid's work.
I have a basketball dad who's like, you know, I say, do you think you're living vicariously through your son? He's like, not vicariously, man, directly. I'm in every shot, in each move, in each go, and that's why the referees make me want to pull my hair out, or in my case, make me pull their hair out. It's like, you're listening to this going, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind, you know, and it's just normal behavior to these people. It's just everyday behavior. I said, how much did you spend on your son's basketball career? And he goes, I'd say 2 Lamborghinis easy. And who measures their wealth in Lamborghinis, first of all?
Yeah, that's pretty fucking weird. But did you see this story on Todd Marinovich?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark and Todd Marinovich, which is another similar story, but to the extreme.
It's a great movie that ESPN did as part of the 30 for 30, which I actually pitched them that. I pitched them that before they did it, so that somebody else had pitched it, like, I guess right around the same time, and they did a great job with it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah,
and it's a very disturbing story, but it's also it really highlights the problem, because here you got a guy who's like an all-time great NFL strength and conditioning coach, understands like the science of strength and conditioning and preparing someone for a sport almost better than anybody, and he has a kid. And he says, you know what? listen, I got a fucking project now.
Yeah.
You turn this kid in, and it worked. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, the kid didn't want to do it.
And he became a heroin addict.
Yeah,
and,
he became an artist. He's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens when you push kids too much. Like a kid kind of has to find
You know how
their own
talented
thing.
how talented Todd Marinovich is. I've spoken with him several times. He's actually like cool, really super cool guy. He told me he went and played an arena football league game, and he was withdrawing from heroin so bad that he had shit his pants. And he had thrown 10 touchdown passes with shit in his pants.
Oh my God.
That's how fucking good he is. He's just like, it was just so easy for me. He's like, football's easy, man. It's just like numbers.
He
you know?
was
Boom,
unbelievable.
Boom, boom.
He won the Heisman Trophy, didn't he?
No, he was,
Or he was close?
not up for it, I think. You know.
Oh, okay.
His dad is a fucking freak, man. His dad did an amazing job with BJ Penn, too.
Yeah, and
You know?
his dad's
Yeah.
a freak, man. His dad, they think they've like made amends with all that and stuff. It's just hard to do it to your own kid. You can do it to somebody else's kid, make him a fucking machine, but you're not the parent.
You
you
also
know?
don't know what your kid wants. I think,
Yeah.
like at a young age, I think Todd Marinovich said, "I want to be in the NFL," but what kid doesn't say that? You know,
Right. Well, not only that, what kid doesn't change his mind when he becomes 16 or 18?
There's a
or-
certain side of it too, though. Look at the dad. You know, I was influenced heavily by my older brother. I wanted to be in like, I wanted to be in like theater and drama. I wanted to do these other, things that are considered like, oh, you're a pansy. What are you, And so those things through the culture I grew up in was like, you're not tough if you do those
everything
things.
we did when we were kids
And
was
so
considered
it was
to be gay.
Yeah, it was considered gay.
gay.
Like, that's fucking,
Soccer's gay.
Yeah, that's gay. So when
Soccer's
I
gay.
wanted to
Yeah.
like
We're like,
make,
what?
when I had like a passion to like make films and do that stuff, it was sort of hard to tell everybody like, hey man, I don't really care that much about lifting anymore. I want to go this way, or whatever. It's that stuff's weird,
Well, Bigger, Stronger, Faster is available. It's been available for a long time. But Trophy Kid's available right now on HBO Go. And when is this new one coming out?
It should be out in like the late fall. We don't have a release date
Late
yet.
fall. Prescription Thugs. When I'll help you promote it. I'll
Absolutely. Thank
talk
you.
about it on Twitter. And you can get a hold of Mark Smelly Bell on
Instagram and Twitter.
On Twitter and Instagram. And Big, Strong, Fast is Chris's handle. Well, do you have an Instagram too?
Yeah, at Big Strong Fast.
Big, Strong, Fast on
Yeah.
Instagram as well.
Even though I'm not none of them anymore.
You're not
I
Big, Strong, or Fast.
I shaved my balls for this interview, so I appreciate it.
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah,
I shaved mine last night.
Oh, good.
It's a
Awesome.
nice feeling. All right, to know that someone else in the room shares
Prepped.
my shorn ball. All right, well, thank you guys. It was a fun conversation. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it, and very enlightening and terrifying in a lot of ways too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.
That was fun, man.